Hey, what's going on, people? How's everybody doing? Hopefully, everybody's having an awesome Thursday. You guys are killing this week. Hopefully. Smiles all the way around. Make sure we can be heard and we can be seen. If you guys could lock in a one for me real quick, I'd appreciate it. Why am I so funny looking? Hold on for a second, guys. This is crazy looking. Okay. Yeah, I think we're a little better now. All right. I see some ones hitting the chat. Thank you guys so much. Big welcome back to Lizzie B, one of the mega mods back in the house. Hopefully you had an awesome time while you were away. See some ones coming through. Thank you guys so much. What's going on? Welcome, sister friends. Rector Laura 13. All right. Yeah, I see a lot of familiar faces back in the house. Pretty not pretty back in the house. What's going on? Thank you guys so much for joining us. Tonight we'll be doing the stream, not the StreamYard. Oh, that's a different whole thing. Guys, I gotta tell you, brother man is suffering. Speakpipe. We doing Speakpipe tonight, where you guys called in, you gave your message, you gave your feedback, and I'm going to respond back to what you guys left as far as what you had to say. So we're going to get into that very shortly. Here we go. Speakpipe.com as speakpipe.com/my take on reality. You guys get a 90 seconds. If you guys don't want to I can't emphasize this enough. If you don't want your message played, but you just want to maybe raise a point or say something to me directly, you can always call in and say that. Just say right off the top, this isn't for public consumption or however you want to put it. I'm fine with that. Or if you don't want to have your name put out, you can use either your stage name, your nom de guerre, or you can also come in and just say anonymous, which is fine too. Like as long as it's not a bunch of craziness on it, I will play it. And by craziness, what I do not mean is, hold on one second. I gotta switch my other focals on. What I'm not referring to is if you have a disagreement with me. If you disagree with me, I have no problem with you disagreeing with something I said or something I did or maybe one of my videos. No issues at all. Speaking of which, big shout out to the folks from the LDS church, the Mormon church. That's a big Mormon church in Utah, and as well as other places. They're huge. It's a huge church. It's not a tiny little faith. I put out a video last week where I was talking about how Cody approaches marriage and the subsequent downfall of some of the trad wife situations. Now, with that being said, I will say this. I don't disagree with what a lot of the folks put in, because some people came back and they were concerned. I won't say they were mad because that's not fair. They raised the point that they grew up in a trad wife house or traditional home, or they in their experience in the Mormon faith, their experience didn't mirror what I talked about in my video, which is fine. I want to be very clear. Do I think that every Mormon person, or even I don't know, clear majority of the Mormon faith believes in basically facilitating Cody Brown style families? Not necessarily. However, I don't ignore certain realities. And what do I mean by that? I'll give a personal example. Story time. Not quite, but close enough. All right. When I was coming up, I grew up, like I said before, my grandfather was actually a Baptist minister. He was a preacher, right? On my father's side. My grandmother, heavy Baptist, go to church all the time. I mean, morning services, evening services, afternoon, like she would do the Bible studies during the week, the choir, all that, right? Then when I got into with my parents, my experience with my parents, I experienced a little bit of the Baptist church. But when it was time for me to go to school, I went to parochial school, which is Catholic school. So I became a Catholic. My family, my parents, my cousins on my mom's side and all them, they were all Catholics. I became a Catholic. I grew up in Catholic school. Now, as part of growing up in Catholic school, as part of my youth, I was involved with a lot of several various leadership positions within the church, right? Which some of them were citywide, right? So I had access to not only my parish or experience with my parish, I had experience with other parishes within the city. And I will say this, I have never met, nor that I'm aware, talked to anyone who suffered from some of the abuses or some of the allegations that kind of plagued the Catholic Church. Uh, if you know, you know, right? I haven't seen any. I've known people not only in my church, like I said, I work with the children organizations, youth organizations. I didn't have any experience there, not whether it was with my church or any of the surrounding churches, no experiences. Now, with all that being said, I could easily sit here and say, when somebody says, you know, them Catholic priests with them kids, I can say, oh, in my church, that never happened. In my experience, that wasn't the case. So therefore, you guys are paint with a broad brush this problem or this occurrence which has happened. And I, although my experience was my experience, I'm not going to say that things weren't happening, right? Now, why do I say that? In comparison to this, with my video, I specifically started with the Brown family, then I moved to a young lady who had issues, uh, who is actually, I'm going to try to invite her onto the show so she can speak her truth. But she a very compelling story. She talked about how growing up in the LDS system, not the AUB or one of the other offshoots, the Kingston group, the mainstream LDS church, she had one of the higher up people within that church convince her to step away from the businesses that she created and rely on her husband. And then fast forward 20 years, that relationship did not end well for her, right? At all. So, you know, I I can't ignore, and that's something that wasn't pressed to her or taught to her by her family or an individual. That's something that was institutionalized, institutional pressure on her because it came from a ranking member of her church. So that's what I was referring to. Now, even with that being said, I don't think that we can stop there. Like, because it's not every church, not everybody's going to have the same experience. Um, I wouldn't say it stops there, but but I would say that we have to look broader because, as I said in the video, in the last part of the video, when I was talking about the LDS church, I said any system where men are taught, that's not just the Mormon faith, that's not just Catholicism. Hell, that's not even just trad wife traditional homes where it's taught that men have more value or carry more value than their counterparts. So if you're in a system like that, and you see, and you know, I'm gonna point fingers. I was gonna say not to point fingers, but bump it. We're gonna point fingers tonight because I keep it a buck. When we point fingers, I'm pointing directly at the manosphere because a lot of what they preach is exactly that. And that's not tied to a religion. Let's be very clear. That's not tied to a religion. That's not tied to a faith. That's not tied to a specific group of folks. Okay. And they're consistently preaching to young men that what is it they say? When it comes down to it, ask these women, what do you bring to the table? And you tell these women that you are the table, you are the treat, you are the gift. So when these women come to you, they have to prove to you and establish to you their value and their worth so they may enter into the family. Because at the end of the day, what they say is women control sexuality or intercourse, men control relationships. So what they try to enforce or inform to these young men is that they're the ones who can direct where the relationship goes and how the relationship functions. And at the end of the day, women are disposable and replaceable, whereas men are invaluable and irreplaceable. And so if a woman comes to you, she has what they refer to as limited or depreciating value, whereas men have appreciating value. As we get older, supposedly you move through your career, you gain more things, you get more money, you get more power, you get more stuff. So therefore, you appreciate in value. In these systems, women are reduced to how they look. That's also part of the reason why I say in last week's episode, when Mary and Robin, and I think Cody had hinted at it, and some of the other women had hinted at it, that it was so important how these women look. It's important that Cody has attractive people around him. That's what, when I heard that, that's one of the things that fired off to me, because in the manosphere, that's what you're taught. A woman is only as valuable as how she looks. So yeah, when you go camping, she better get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and start caking on makeup and doing her hair. Because when you roll up out of bed, she needs to be on that griddle, over that campfire making your breakfast. And she needs to look like she just fell out of the pages of a magazine, as opposed to just roll her ass out of bed or the cot or sleeping bag, which is completely ridiculous. Because if you're going to go camping, you might as well enjoy the whole experience. And for you to get up and try to blow dry your hair, you know, where you going to bring a generator out, bring a special generator so that you can do your makeup and stuff. It's crazy. So I want to be very clear about that. Am I smashing or bashing the what is it, the Mormon or LDS church? No, I'm not. I don't have anything against Mormons or the LDS church. However you find your path to do the right thing, you know, good on you. That's my position on it. So with that being said, just wanted to give a little context. And again, I don't, if somebody thinks that what I said was out of line, I invite you to reach out to me, explain to me why you think I was out of line. But for right now, like I said, I wasn't necessarily targeting. I also want to make it very clear, when we're doing these types of videos or having these types of discussions, we have to be mindful that if you were to talk to, you know, people say, well, I grew up in a traditional home and that was never the case, or I am in a traditional home and that's not the case. I respect that. And I can't criticize your partner because I don't know your partner. I don't know who they are. But what I will say is, if someone were to get involved with this type of relationship, my whole goal isn't to stop people from deciding to stay home or making a choice to stay home. That's not my goal. My goal is to present the full breadth of information to individuals so that they can make an informed choice. So when I say informed choice, what I'm actually referring to isn't just a decision. I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. There was somebody in my chat who said, well, these women knew what they were getting into. They're adults. And so if they got involved with this, that's kind of on them. Yes and no. Okay. Because I would be willing to argue that they didn't make an informed choice. They weren't told that if they did this, this is the possible outcome. And they weren't told that. So if you're going to make an informed choice, you have to not only be informed of your choice or the decision you can make in front of you, but you have to be informed of and knowledgeable about all the possible outcomes and results and things that can happen to you, consequences of things that can happen to you if you make these choices. For instance, you join one of these families, you get married, you trust in this person, you don't work. And even though your name appears on a mortgage, as a for instance, which is, you know, off top, that's puts you ahead of where the OG3 were, because Cody didn't put their names on any of the property. And with the young lady I was speaking about earlier, they had the same issue. Their name wasn't on any of the stuff, which is a big red flag. So what happens is they find themselves in a situation where you are in a position where you don't work. If you don't work and you don't have a job, if something happens, if your husband makes, say, $80,000 a year, $60,000, $70,000 a year, and you haven't worked in 15, 20 years. That's a huge resume gap. And if something were to happen to your husband, the chances or likelihood that you would just be able to walk into a office without, especially without a higher level or a higher degree, a specialized degree, and walk into an office and say, hey, write me out, start stroking me out $70,000 a year checks, is greatly diminished. Like it's just not there. And a lot of the skills and things that you would have, which makes you extremely invaluable to your family, taking care of the kids, organizing the home, and taking care of like business on that front. Maybe even you're doing the financials at your house for your family. None of that really translates to employment, because if you walk into a job and say, yeah, I take care of my books at the house, that doesn't necessarily translate into, so therefore I'm able to come into your business and do your books, because in most cases they have systems, programs, procedures, policies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that you might not be aware of. So when you make that choice, I just want you to be aware of the possibilities of things that can happen, because it's not just a matter of whether your husband leaves you. Like in that particular case, her husband left for a 19-year-old escort. And so he completely devastated her that way. But if something were to happen to your husband, you're in a similar, if not worse situation, because you're trying to figure things out. That's all I'm doing. So with all that being said, oh, big shout out to Tanya Carter. What's going on? We're gonna be hearing from Tanya later on today. So you guys buckle up. Plus, Tanya actually, you guys are invited to leave. You can leave multiple messages. I'm not insulted by that. If things get tight, as far as time, I might have to, start choosing. But right now is pretty much, it is what it is. But Tanya, she left 3 messages, and one of those messages, that last message, woo, she said, "You don't have to play it. We playing that. We are playing that," because I was like, that is a good point. Got me to thinking about some things. So I'm going to offer some new insights and maybe a little bit of clarity as to where my mind is as far as some of these things go. But let me give Tanya a little something. So Tanya, congratulations. Awesome questions. Awesome points. All right. And so here we go. I figure we could just jump right into it, right? You guys ain't offended by jumping right into it, taking care of this business. Take care of that business. All right. Let me just, because I was having a little Cody Kremlin issues earlier. Call them the Kremlin issues when I have any kind of electronic or issues with my starts for the live stream, because we know how that goes. Let's see. We have we'll start with Sophie from Belgium, just so I can get things organized. Sophie from Belgium, what you got to say?
Hi, James. This is Sophie. I watch your videos from Belgium, usually not live because of the time difference. I just really wanted to hear your take on what you think Cody and Robin will be doing next. Where do you think they're going with their lives, their storylines, just in general? Thank you.
Okay, so Sophie from Belgium. What's going on, Belgium? I love your Brussels waffles. A lot of people say they're Belgian waffles, but technically they're Brussels waffles. And I've heard a story real quick. Sophie, if you can, you're probably not here, but on a replay, if you see this and you could give me a thumbs up or some kind of indication. A friend of mine was in Belgium, and they said that they were talking about frites, which is one of the like big dishes over there. Like, certain places are known for certain things. And he said, if you ever are in Belgium and you're in Brussels or whatever, and you want to get some frites, don't go to the and I say this growing up in up and around Philly, don't go to the touristy places to get the local thing, the local fare. Okay, like if you go down and you hit one of the big tourist places to get a cheesesteak or a pretzel or whatever, they're going to be okay. They're going to be all right. And they're a good entry point for those who are uninitiated. But if you want the real deal, holy feel, you know what I mean? This is what it's about. This is why it is a legend in this town. They told me this about frites, and I fully agree with it. And I think it applies to, like I said, pretzels, soft pretzels, and steak sandwiches. If you want something delicious, find that place that's like out the way where the locals go. if you're ever in that, like, be careful if you don't like the islands or whatever in Caribbean, because sometimes locals areas a little rough. All right, but if you want some of the real stuff, not the tourist shit, like the tourist trap stuff. I mean the real deal, Holyfield stuff. Find like that like roach coach looking type place. You be like, oh, that place, they got it. That's the one that does it. But to answer your question, long way around it. All right, to answer your question, here it is. Where do I think Cody and Robin are going? Where I think Cody and Robin are going is kind of what I said in a previous video. I think that they are auditioning for their spin-off show. Like this, basically, like the closing or waning days of the Sister Wives series, I think, is to launch the this is a soft launch for the Cody and Robin show. Okay. Just like it's a soft launch, I think it's a soft launch for the Christine and Janelle show, or the Christine and David show, and then Janelle most likely will have her own show with Maddie and McKelty. That's what I think is going to happen. And then Christine will kind of float between them because they have a pathway. Do I think Mary might be able to get her own show? I think that she's also soft launching the show. But when it comes to Cody and Robin, there's a reason why Cody keeps talking about how she looks and how attractive she is and how shy she is and how wonderful she is. There's a reason why that's occurring. There's a reason why he's trying to act like he's balling and he has this stuff, because he wants to come off like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. They want to take the place of the Kardashian and go in the way of that type of reality show where they have like these big high five fancy lifestyles. You saw that with the Kardashians. The cheaper ripoff of that would be the Real Housewives of wherever. They're basically like a Kardashian type reality show in that same vein, where they try to show that they have these elaborate, exclusive, exorbitant lifestyles where they just have like money and expensive cars, and they go places. And in the case of like the Real Housewives, and as well as potentially Robin and Cody's show, they want TLC to pay for it. There's also something that kind of sparked my ear too, and don't hold me to this, but it's just something of note. Remember earlier in the season where Cody kept talking about, I want to go to Europe. I want to go to England. I want to film in the UK. I want to live in the UK. He didn't say film. But because this is their source of income, essentially he would want to film in the UK. He's not going to want to just go, retire from Sister Wives and then try to spend his days and rocking out in the UK. Like, this dude wants to retire in the UK. He wants to be in the UK. And part of him going to the UK would be, I got to have this certain type of lifestyle so that way, Secret to the Soft, maybe even Soft Pander, if he can establish that he has this particular type of lifestyle, that maybe TLC will pay for or supplement that lifestyle as a means or method to produce the show. It goes into the production cost of the show. So if you were doing a show about a rich guy who had a business, right? If his business is failing, right? You would want to have him in a successful business and present himself as a successful person, a rich person. He got money to burn and he's going on all these vacations. Oh, we're going to have an episode where we go swimming with the sharks. We're going to have an episode where we're out on a yacht and this is how we're living. This is all a way for you to try to get TLC to pay for it. Now, in the case of The Real Housewives, they never hit anybody as weird. This is part of the reason why. I'm sure you guys figured it out, but this is a reason why, for those who don't know or didn't see it, maybe don't watch the shows. In the Real Housewives, every season they always go somewhere, and it's supposed to be on somebody. Like, oh, I'm paying for us to go to Jamaica. I'm paying for us to go to Africa. I'm paying for us to go to Ireland or wherever, right? And all the wives, particularly the ones who don't get along, all wind up on that trip. And that wouldn't make any sense. If I'm paying for a trip, the last thing I'm doing is paying for a bunch of people who don't get along to go on my expensive ass custom luxury trip. So you can go there and ruin my time on my dime. Hell to the no. We not doing that. No, sir. No, sir, we not. You understand what I mean? Because if y'all get to arguing and fighting during my little vacation that I put my hard-earned money behind, oh, we getting it in. Okay, it's not, y'all not just going between the two of you. Like, this is gonna be a 3-way all-out brawl because there's no way in the world y'all gonna tear this up, and that's what I think Cody and Robin are doing. I think that they're actually trying to expand themselves. Now, I build on it this way as well. I think that if you look at, and I've said this before, so this isn't really nothing new for those who've been around. If you look at the first few episodes, the first season, the way Sister Wives was presented to us from the production company side, not necessarily people going to say that Christine organized it. She's the one that got the show. I get that. I'm not disputing that. But if you look at it from the production side, and if I describe to you the scenario, the heroes and protagonists of Sister Wives in the first season was actually Cody and Robin. It was Cody and Robin. The other wives were set up, and this is why we credit Christine for being a straight shooter, because Christine was put in a position where she was actually supposed to be the villain. Christine was supposed to be cast as a villain. Why do you say that, James? I say that because if you look at what was supposed to happen, Robin, who is supposed to be the cute, shy, young, pretty wife coming into the family, and she's being rejected and being treated hostilely by the jealous third last wife, which is Christine. She was asking questions. Should she be in the family? I don't think this is a good idea. I think this is a bad idea. I think she's going to ruin the family. I think she's replacing us. When you're in Cody and Robin's shoes, that looks terrible on Christine, because the one thing that they've always said about you, if you are bad, if you're they want to make you look bad, is that you're jealous or you're envious or you are trying to compare. And these accusations start to question that other person's character. It's an assassination of your character in this particular community. Like in my community, but most by my community, I mean most monogamous, we will look at that. Of course she's going to ask questions. Of course she's going to be mad. Of course she's going to be jealous. This doesn't make sense. If you bring a younger woman into the house, any woman into the house, younger, older, crippled, crazy, don't make a difference. You bring her into the house, your wife is going to be pissed. That's just that's how it is in my house. Okay? If I showed up with somebody, my wife is not going to be happy. She's not going to be, oh, joy, we're going to have another person at Christmas. Yay. Like, that's not a conversation I'm expecting to have. I'm expecting to bring somebody to the house and then go into my backyard and see all my clothes in a bonfire. That's what I'm expecting. Okay? So I think their expectation is that they were going to present Cody as this fun, young, vibrant, attractive guy, and he gets this shy, quiet, young, attractive, vibrant woman who is coming into the family, and she's willing to sacrifice everything she has, because every time they talk about it and every complaint that Cody has, I think that he's digging back to the first pilot of what this show was supposed to be about. What was the first subtext of this show? And he goes back to that to try to reinvent it so that he can get that wheel going, because he can't get the motor started. That's what I think is happening. So that's why I think that this is the rebrand that they're trying to go through, the renaissance that they're trying to have, where Cody is being represented as this fun-loving guy who's just so in love with his beautiful shy wife, and she's so amazing. I think that's that whole facade that they have going on, that they're so in love and it was a secret Romeo and Juliet type stuff, and all these people trying to hold them back. That's exactly mirrored to what I think they were initially trying to do with the show. So that's what I think they're trying to do. I think they're trying to get another show. I absolutely believe that, and I think that the whole purpose and point, if as a side note, if TLC would have walked up to if TLC would have walked up to Robin and Cody and said, like, you know, Barry Gordy with the Jackson 5, Michael, Michael, you can ditch your four brothers and you can go solo. Cody and Robin would have ditched the OG3. They would have dumped them. They would have got dropped. I think I believe that. I won't say I firmly believe it, but I highly suspect it. Okay, I'm at that point of like, I can't say for certain, but maybe. You understand what I mean? Like, I have a clip that I use sometimes with CK. That maybe. All right, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So, but thank you so much. That was a excellent question, or excellent point. Oh, we have some super chats. Gabbing Val, $10 super chat. Love the picture. I thought the Brown family was members of the Apostolic United Brethren. They are. That is a fundamental sect of the Mormon Church, referred to as the FLDS Church. Technically, and I don't know if the FDLS is the same as the AUB, but they are part of the AUB Church. With that, the way it kind of folds into the broader Mormonism is that both Cody and Janelle were brought up in the Mormon faith. So Cody didn't become a member of the AUB. Like, he went away, he went all the way through. He was a member of the LDS all the way through high school. And then he went on his mission. And during his mission, his 2-year mission, his father and his mom had joined the AUB. And then upon returning home, Cody was introduced to the whole concept of polygamy and the AUB faith. He joined the AUB faith, and then unironically, within like a year or so of joining the AUB faith, he marries Mary. Like, this dude was not ready. He was not ready for polygamy. He wasn't brought up in it. So he didn't really have any experience when it came to it. And at that point, I would dare to say that he didn't have the maturity to engage in this type of complex relationship. Because honestly, when you at 20 years old, can people get married at 20? Absolutely. People get married at 18. Like, because not everybody is the same. And I will acknowledge that right off the top. Would I recommend across the board that people rush out and get married right after high school? Hell to the no. Because, you know, in my experience, I know I wasn't ready. Me, James, I wasn't ready. Coming out of high school, I don't think I was ready when I got out of college to jump right into a relationship where I was going to choose my partner. Like, it took me a couple years to get it right. Okay. And that's me. I'm not saying that this is across the board, but just in general, I think that, you know, in order for you to make a lifelong or lifetime commitment, you have to have certain mental faculties in order. You have to have a certain level of maturity, because you have to recognize the depth and breadth of the promise that you're making to somebody else. It's not enough for you just to get married. You want to make sure that you understand the vows that you're taking, the promises that you're making, so that way you don't break somebody's heart within 10, 15, 20 years when you turn around and say, you know what, I never loved you. And I think that even though ideally it would be nice to think that at one point Cody did genuinely love Mary, Christine, and Janelle, not to be a jerk about it, but there's a strong possibility, very strong possibility, that Cody didn't know what love was, or at least his understanding of what love was, until he met Robin. because when he met and married Mary, he knew he had to have a wife. There's certain things that you want to do, especially at 20 years old, 19, 20. There's certain things you want to do physically that you can't do in that faith unless you married and you do that thing. So you get married to, answer some questions, and then you're told that if you have multiple wives, you can rise in power and level and social value in the church. So you take another wife. You have a woman who's right there, who's talking to you, and she's friendly with you, and she's tied in with Mary, and she's curious about the thing, and maybe you guys have a little sexual attraction, but sexual attraction doesn't equate to love. And then when the result of sexual attraction, having children, and even getting married when you're young may translate more into obligation than it does to love. And then after that, when you meet somebody and you're in church and they get a lightning bolt shot up their booty, and you get that twangy twang, sitting there watching them walk back and forth, dropping pencils all up and down the aisle so you can get a better look at their hind parts. You might feel like, okay, you start questioning your situation and scenarios. Just saying. But yeah, that is true. Like they are a part of the AUB. That's the Apostolic United Brethren Church. They are a part of that. Yes, that is very true. Let me give you a little something now. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah, I gotta bounce, make it bounce. Melinda Hensley, $5 super sticker. Thank you, Melinda. Appreciate you. Okay, check you out, blinging out. Check it, bling it out. That's what's up. Let me give you a little something. Thank you for the super sticker. Kathy Ferran, what? Kathy Ferran in the house, $3 super sticker. Kathy Ferran. Kathy's always up in chat. Like I see Kathy and other people's stuff too. She get around. Kathy she about that life. Kathy about that business. Oh, Brittany, not Brittany. 999 super chat. It could have actually worked if the dress situation didn't happen and Robin were actually likable. That's true. That's true. Most newbies start the show confused about why the fandom dislikes Robin. And that's the fact, Jack. That's a very good point. Because a lot of the stuff that Robin did, it rubs you the wrong way. And it's the idea of like the secrecy stuff with I'm not a big fan of secrets. And I think that when you're doing these types of relationships, it requires honesty and transparency. Like this is not a thing where you can, we're going to go do some secret sauce, secret squirrel stuff off to the side, me and the primary, because in these relationships, whether we like it or not, the center focus is on Cody. Cody tried to pretend like, all the focus can't be on me because if something happens to me, you guys all got to keep together as a family. At the end of the day, Cody understood, the wives understood, and we as fans understood that Cody is the center of that universe. He's the one that's holding everything together. Janelle is not going to be friends with Robin because even as Janelle said it now, I don't know Robin. Me and Robin aren't the same age. We don't like the same thing. We don't have crap in common. Janelle could say the same thing about Mary. Mary could say the same thing about Christine. The one common factor that they had was Cody. So with all that being said, you can't take the object of everyone's desire and sneak it off to yourself. That becomes selfish. That's stuff that people who have been around and seen this season after season after season, that's part of the reason why I think we dislike Robin, amongst other reasons, like the dishonesty, the gaslighting, control of conversations, so on and so forth, to heaps of other reasons. But that's one of the main reasons why we dislike her. So if that had not aired, and, because even if you look at, because even to take your point, Brittany, not Brittany, which is a very good point, if you take that whole scenario where Cody was like, I got a secret. I picked the dress. Yes, I did. I picked the dress. Everybody was supposed to celebrate. That was supposed to be a point where everybody's like, yeah, Cody, yeah, you got involved, player. You didn't rely on this woman. You wanted to be involved with the marriage because you're super involved with your family and you care so much about them. You go, boy. That's what was supposed to happen. That was supposed to be the result. But too many people are tuning in. Like, I don't know who the hell they had producing this show. And the fact that they didn't understand how this was actually looked. Like, you didn't look at it. You turned in your assignment. You didn't proofread it. What? But like my videos, like I'll go through the video and you know how long it takes me to do a video. It's so crazy because you spend so much time like editing stuff and then you watch it back and you're like, okay, yeah, I don't think that really works out like that. You guys didn't do that for a national TV show? That's crazy. But when they put it out, that was supposed to get a different result. Like I think that that boneheadedly, they didn't think that it was people were going to be as outraged, like what the shit? Like but that's the result of most of the people who watched that was the reaction of most of the people who watched the show. Like, what the hell? Why would you say that? Why would you tell on yourself? Robin understood it on how bad it looked because she could kind of sense the room. Story time. I think that'd be a good point. Story time. There was a one time I had a work meeting, and there was this manager, kind of a jackass, right? And I have to be very careful about how I say this. And while he was there, he's married, and there's a woman who worked in HR who was also married, and they would sneak off. We had areas of the workplace that were like limited access, like only certain people could go into these areas. And if you knew what the area looked like, you knew what the area looked like. And the one person, the young lady, this one person was messing with, manager was messing with, worked in that area, right? And needless to say, at some point, somebody took some photographs of people al fresca with him al fresca, you know, all the Ghibli bits on display, if you dig what I'm saying, Polaroid, right? And they dropped it, and it was found at the workplace. Now you couldn't see his head, but you knew by the shape of his body exactly who it was, right? So I remember we had this meeting. And I'm sitting in the meeting, and I knew who had the photo, and I knew, you know, what was going on. And I'm sitting there, and there was a guy who had an axe to grind against this particular manager. And he was determined to out this manager. And I'm sitting there, and I'm seeing the way the flow of the room is going, right? So you had the manager, you had his boss, and I think the other boss was there too, like the boss's boss was there. And I could see the flow of the meeting. That was always my superpower. I could tell which way the water was going. Like I could see the feel in the room. I was like, oh, this is not going our way. This is going to be bad. And this dude just rifled through, slapped that picture on. And the guy looked at it and said, oh my God. Because everybody in the room knew it was him. And the dude face beat red. He knew we knew. He knew everybody knew. And he knew that it was him. And needless to say, it did not go the way the guy who slapped the picture on the table thought it was going to go. And I say that to say this. When Cody, I saw in Robin the same probably the same look that was on my face. This is not going to go good. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Stop talking. And that's where I think Robin was. That's where Robin was. Because, I mean, like, he should have known better. And you would think a guy who's been around women for 30 years, a married man who's been, you know, involved with these women for 20, 30 years, he would know better. Nope. So, yeah. And so I think that there's a lot of things that are like that. There was a lot of what I'll refer to as unforced errors. Like nobody backed Cody up in making this admission. Nobody tricked him into doing it. He did it for himself, and he blew it. You know, he blew it. But I will say this: needless to say, when we walked, just to close that point out I made about the story. Needless to say, when we walked out of there, uh, I had the respect of the management because they were, oh, he knew how to handle it, and then the person who slapped the picture on the table eventually was demoted. So you gotta be careful. Like you think, well, things will go one way, you gotta pay attention to what's going on. You gotta pay attention to what's going on. Yeah, the guy who was in the picture, he didn't last long, but they didn't fire him for that. They wound up firing him for something else. But yeah, he should have got fired for that because that was crazy. To this day, oh my God, I can still see that shit. Some things just get burned in your brain and you don't want it there. So now I could have went to my grave without that. Thank you. But and some of you are probably saying the same thing. But thank you so much, Brittany, not Brittany. All right. Oh, and Lizzie B just sent a gift in. Lizzie B gifted one my take on reality membership. Thank you so much, Lizzie B. That's so generous. I am going to, you guys stay in there. Make sure you have your boxes, necessary boxes checked so that you can get these gifted memberships. Lizzie gifted one. I'm gonna gift 5 by the end of the live today. I'm gonna throw 5 in there. So we're gonna get some folks in there, and these memberships are good because when I drop my videos on Monday, you guys will be able to see the motivational videos that I have. I just did one where I was talking about like the learning how to lose, as well as the importance of winning, obviously, but learning how to lose and how that can act as a strategy or catalyst to lead you to winning. So check that out. But yeah, thank you so much, Lizzie. Give you a little something for your generosity and you being back. All right. Thank you so much. Let's get back to it. Oh, let's see. Yeah. I missed the one comment. I wanted to comment on something and I missed it. But yeah, I appreciate it. Somebody had wrote about the my explanation as far as like the Mormon faith. Like, I'm not coming after the LDS group. And so for some of the people in the LDS was probably like, why are you coming after us? We ain't did nothing. All we did was live our life. I think that some of the LDS people, their targets, especially now, because they are whether correct or incorrect, they're seen as more along the lines of being stricter with their faith, and because of that stereotype, you have the rise of shows like you have rise of like the trad wife stuff. A lot of that comes out of Utah. A lot of those folks are Mormons. Then you also have the rise of like shows like, what is it, TikTok moms, or I forget what it's called. But the reason why that show is as popular as it is because they're out of Utah and they're part of the LDS church. And that's the only reason that's the only reason they have a show. Because they came out and you found out some young girls doing a whole bunch of freaky stuff with each other, and then all of a sudden it's a TV show. No, it's a TV show because they're supposed to be more sanctified than that, and that's what makes it. They go against the stereotype, so that's what makes the show. And I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think that it's really reflective of the Mormons that they they acted wild as hell, because you already had that in mainstream America back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s with the girls going wild. That's all that is. It's just a rebrand of that. The girls next door that you didn't think was doing the freakadeek, here they go, and that's all it is. Just a rebranding. This is James. What do you think Cody meant when he said Robin won't indulge? We all know it ain't shopping. Oh, they was talking about the, but That's not true because we got photos of them at the bar. So a lot of that stuff went clean out the damn window. I think again, I just think that they're just trying to rebrand it, you know, because I did notice that like even the snarky way, because I do agree with somebody who said that TLC probably bought that ugly ass vanity for the youngest daughter, some an activity for them to put together. I could buy that. TLC bought that. I could also buy the TLC uh was trying to get them to rebrand themselves, so they're trying to push them to be more holy or sanctified, and oh, she would never do the shopping, but then at the same time they have her talking about, like, if you notice when Cody showed up with that present, the $5,000 worth of jewelry, thank you internet, when he showed up with the $5,000 worth of jewelry, she said, yeah, your big gift is at home. Like, so yeah, she's not against shopping. She's not against spending money. And we can get into that in a minute. I might actually do a video about that. I think that's an interesting topic about the money because I like talking about the money. Next up, we have another thing from Sharon. Sharon, what you got
Hi,
to say?
James. This is Sharon. Hope you're having a great evening. I was curious about something. With all the talk about Sister Wives maybe coming to an end, wonder how everybody would feel about maybe a rewatch by the Sister Wives, at least was the OG3. Just curious to if they would be interested in it, and if they were, how many of your viewers would be interested in watching it, and would you be interested in watching it? Thanks.
Sharon, you sound like you a TLC producer. No, I'm just joking. I think that's a good question. Would I be interested in watching the Sister Wives watch themselves to see where their positions have changed? Yeah, I think that would actually be an interesting show. I think that it would only be about maybe I think it would only work for maybe a season or two for them to do that. They would have to pick out like some of the spicier stuff. Like they're like I don't want to watch them go shopping or watch them stand in stores. But I would like to see their commentary as far as some of the stronger positions that they took and where they are now. Because those positions, by nature of the positions that they're taking now, would have to be different, and it would be nice to have some of those positions colored in, if you will, like if they're explained a little further. So when you it's like even with Christine, like to be honest with you, it's really not enough that you're just saying Cody is, what Cody used to do. Explain why uh you were a part of it, why you tolerated it, well, what changed, what you would do different, why you don't think it works. This type of relationship doesn't work, and I think that that would be important as well. So, I think that having that opportunity would be interesting. And would I review it? Yeah, absolutely. I would talk about it because I think that it would be an interesting conversation for sure. But thank you so much. It's a good question. Um, I will wait before I go too far. I just got to make sure. Oh, let me see because this all got jacked up. Here we go.
Sharon here again here, James. Just as a continuation of that question, in my mind, they would rewatch and tell us, well, what part did they hide from us, or what part did Cody want hid from us, kind of thing, and tell us the truths about those sections. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I forgot that that part was in there, but yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Like I think that that would be interesting to get both sides or have the situation colored in more, especially. And here's the big key, especially now that they've shed the cloak of charity. Now that they shed the cloak of charity and they're actually going to be honest about situations and maybe even give us more of the backstory with connection to why they felt the way they did at the time, I think that that would be the interesting part. I think that would be the hook of the show is that they're going to give us the behind the scenes, what was actually going on behind the camera and why they felt the way they did or they reacted the way they did at the time. Like even with the Oh yeah, because even with the sister wife's jewelry thing, I have to do that video as well. With sister wife's jewelry, I think that there's a very substantive reason as to why Christine had the reaction she did about the piece that Cody gave her in the sister wife's closet video, sister wife's closet episode, where he supposedly gave them those necklaces and they put them in the like Janelle put her necklace in that leave it bin or whatever the hell it is. On their way to I forget where they were going, and she was out there in the desert, and they pulled up and dropped that ugly ass necklace in the in the bin. That neck turned greener necklace up in the bin. So yeah, I think that would be interesting. I would love to see it, and it would also color in a lot of the stuff that we had as far as like positions that we were taking. All right, next up we got Jashanti.
Hey James, you know what? I was thinking about Mary, and one of the things that I just like the OG3. I am all for the OG3, and everything, and it's like mainly Christine and Janelle because they have always, and that's what everybody keep on saying, that I keep hearing why everybody love Mary and why I mean I married Christine and why I love Christine. Christine always been real and 100 from the very very beginning. She was always transparent with everything the whole way through, and she's just a real person, authentic person. Mary is so plastic. It's nothing about her that's authentic. She don't know herself. It's hard for me to tolerate people sometimes who don't know thyself, and Mary is the classic case of someone who don't. I was looking, reflecting back on that scene where Christine finally, when they was sitting outside, and Christine finally left the family, and no, this is when they came back. When they came back and they was all sitting, this was when Christine had already left, and it was all them plus Janelle. And Mary just had that whole vibe, like as Christine was exiting the marriage, and this getting ready to cut off after a while, so I guess I'll call right.
It did cut.
Hey, it's just Shanti again. Okay, so yeah, so when they was sitting, when Christine was exiting the marriage, or the family or whatever, Mary had this whole vibe and demeanor of her, like, oh, you did something wrong, like she was in trouble, like a group of students, and she's in trouble with the principal, and she just kind of really wasn't showing her any sympathy or anything, like she couldn't relate or understand, and she was the main one who could relate and understand. It's just she just always want to be petted by Cody, and Robin, and just, to the point to where it's just she is so oblivious to her own self, which is what's irritating me about Mary. And now she want everybody to be like, woohoo, good for you because you left. Oh no, the only reason you left was because of Christine, which I'm glad she did. I get it. But girl, you need to go really find yourself and get up out of all your friends' face for a minute. Or maybe they are healthy. I don't know, but you don't have to air this. I just wanted you to know about this. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No, I think that that's an interesting point. Jashanti had an excellent point. I think that part of the challenge that Mary presents is that her desire to hold the family together, rightly or wrongly, and her refusal, like when Christine went to her and said, "I'm tired of Cody," because this actually happened well before season 16. She was sitting on. It was when Mary fell down the hill when they went skiing. And Christine went in and said that she was having problems with Cody. It's difficult, and she don't know if she can keep doing it. How is she going to keep doing this with Cody? How can she explain it to Cody what she needs from him? And Mary essentially told her, well, no, you don't explain it to Cody. This is your problem. You have to deal with it. These are your issues, and you leave Cody out of it. You just have to stick with the family and fix yourself, essentially. And I think Mary lost some folks with that. When it comes to it, and even with the response that she had, Cody said some things that were real and they were raw, and and he said some things that needed to be said. Yeah, that's how you would feel if you're trying to be on Cody's side and you're worshiping at Cody's altar of marriage. But once you break away from that, there is a point where you have to come down off of some of the things that you had said, because you weren't necessarily showing support for somebody who was in need of that support. Christine needed that support. But I think Mary wasn't ready to let the relationship go. So she was willing to allow Cody to do some wrong things. And I think that is, in fact, kind of a curious point that we could have a discussion about that, because, is Mary the only person this has ever happened to? Absolutely not. I mean, in this situation, absolutely not. Like there are people who are with, maybe it's not a husband or a wife talking to another sister wife, but there are women or men who, fathers or mothers who are in relationships with a significant other, and they'll turn a blind eye to their significant other mistreating or mishandling their children because they don't want to break the family up. They don't want to lose this relationship, the opportunity for this love or this relationship. So they tell their kids, if Mr. John come by and he start getting wild or crazy, then you got to figure out what you can do so that he don't yell at you or lose his temper. Or if, your stepmom come through and she has a problem with why you're not cleaning and you're not cleaning good enough, then you have to make a concerted effort to try to learn how she wants you to do things, because I don't want this problem in my house. I don't want this problem to infect my relationship. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose this man or this woman. I don't lose my husband. These are things that happen. Like, it's not just a Mary thing. So I think that's something that we see. This is part of the reason why I like kind of talking about some of the things that we see on Sister Wives, because it's not just the Brown family on an island where this stuff happens. It's not just polygamy where this stuff happens. You can apply a lot of this stuff to monogamous relationships. Maybe the players will be different, but a lot of the actions, behaviors, and mentality will all be the same. So I think that's an excellent point. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Next up, we have Darylyn.
So I like how Cody told on Robin that when their daughter is gonna start dating, she's gonna try this guy, she's gonna test him. I wonder how he knows that. Probably because he did that to the OG3. And since they didn't pass, they divorced. So she could have him to himself. So I like how Cody pretty much told on Robin what she's already done, because she's already had practice, and she's gonna do it to her daughters too.
Yeah, I think that's also part of it too, is that they especially when we start talking about the tenders, the kids, I don't want to go too hard on the kids because the kids are still in their formative years, they're still learning, they're still developing. But I will say that having that type of influence around, kind of what Darylyn was talking about, having that type of influence around where you feel like you have to prove yourself, that's not just something that affects the OG3. That's something also that's going to affect Robin's kids, Robin's daughters specifically. Like, you're teaching them, and even that young man, Solomon, you're teaching him and you're teaching those young ladies that women have to prove themselves in order to be in relationships. If I don't find you approved, if you don't reach my approval, your worth is diminished. Your value to me in this family is diminished. And therefore, I have to question whether you are worthy to participate in this union or this family. And that's one of the things that is kind of that I'm not a big fan of, especially as Cody starts to talk about a lot of the family falling apart and breaking up, and the things that are happening within the family and what's going on, and why Christine and Janelle and Mary are all terrible people and they deserve to be treated horribly, and they should walk away with nothing because they betrayed me and they went against me and all the things I was doing. Like, at the end of the day, if they can't find happiness with you in that situation, Why would you want them to suffer? If you care about them, if you genuinely love them, and if you've ever loved them, not even love them now, if you've ever loved them at any point, why would you want them to stay in a situation where they're miserable and they can't find happiness? You could be the most wonderful, beautifulest, gorgeous, outstanding individual who does everything in the world for somebody, and whatever it is that you are, whoever you are, and whatever it is you do, for some people it will never be enough. And if you love those people, let those people go, because you're never going to give them the thing that they need. And that's in the best possible case scenario. Cody, I don't think, had the interest to show to work on those relationships, to build those relationships, to offer them the level of security that they would need in order for them to stay in those relationships. And because he failed at that, they decided to leave. Now, when they decided to go, for whatever reason, when they decided to go, I know this is difficult and I know this is hard. It's easy to say, but what's required is for you to have a certain level of maturity to allow them to go. Let them find peace, because you trying to hold them into a situation they don't want to be in. Nobody finds peace in that situation. There's only misery, depression, anger, and resentment that lives in that house. Let them go. Open the door for them. Let them go. And when they go, don't try to punish them on the way out, because that just encourages them to stay. So let them go. And that's one of the things that I find deleterious, but one of the things that I find very unforgiving when it comes to a lot of Cody's reactions towards these young ladies, or I call them young ladies, but towards like the OG3 and how they treat it, because it just doesn't affect them. It also affects those kids, because they're watching this. Kids are always watching and they're learning, and they learn, like, if you there, you might be of the mind that nobody's going to treat my kids this way, because Robin, when these girls go out and they try to find somebody, I'm an easygoing guy. But when Robin finds somebody, she going to be tough. That's all great. But if you teach your young ladies, your girls especially, you teach your girls how to be followers, then when they find somebody who claims to be their leader, it doesn't matter what Robin thinks. It don't matter what you think, because they found a leader, and in order for them to be worthy, they have to follow the instructions of that leader. They have to do what that leader tells them to do, not what you tell them to do, because your whole thing is, irregardless of what's going on, because this is what you're seeing from the inside of that relationship. No matter what is happening, no matter how you feel about it personally, as Robin, or as Mary, Janelle, or Christine, no matter how you feel about it, no matter how your people feel about it, your mama, your daddy, your kids, you know what I mean, how they feel about it, these are the people that are closest to you. That, those people were upset with how Cody was treating them. Cody basically looked at the OG3 and say, to hell with those people. You do what I tell you to do. You need to follow my instruction, my lead. And so when these young ladies go out and they find a person who they want to be with, what do you think is going to happen? With everything I just said, how does that translate? That translates to, the Robin and Cody don't think that he treats you good. Too damn bad. He's the leader. He's the head of the family. He's the head of the household. He's the one that I got to follow. Your brothers and sisters, Ari, Ariella, Solomon, Brianna, or Aurora, or Dayton, or whoever, don't feel like they treat you good. That's too damn bad, because he's the leader. He's going to tell me what to do. He's giving me instructions. I have to be loyal to my significant other. These are the same things that you've been complaining about and bitching about this whole time with regard to these other three women. What do you think that teaches your kids? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And that's why, like, we can sit here and say, with these adults that, this type of behavior is bad on these adults, and it makes Christine, Mary, and Janelle feel bad. But I'm looking at these kids too, and I wouldn't want to set my kids up to think that this is how men are supposed to treat women, or if women don't feel like these relationships are working, they have to suffer or endure these types of mistreatment, being ignored, being looked over, being, abandoned essentially. They don't have to tolerate that. So that's just kind of my 2 on it. But thank you so much. Okay, let me go back in because we have super chat. Super chat. All right. For Brittany, not Brittany, 499 super chat. One of Mega Mods. Cody knew his kids saw how he treated his wives. That's why he told Isabel not to become a bitter housewife. He doesn't want to be culpable. And I think that's true. I think that, even in the most ridiculous situations, I'll put it that way because of YouTube guidelines, in the most ridiculous situation, I think that people who mistreat their loved ones, if you understand what I'm saying, want better for their kids. I think that they don't want their kids to fall victim to the same type of mistreatment that they do to somebody else. It's very hypocritical. Absolutely. I watch you do this to my mama for years. Now all of a sudden you want to come here and talk about how, if Solomon, if he was mistreating his wife, I watch you do this to these other women for years. Or, get to the point where he does something to Robin. I watch you do that to my mama for years. So now you think I'm going to be different. Why? And if you're teaching these young ladies, and good for them, and this is also a feather in the cap of the all the Browns, I guess, for raising strong kids, because I haven't heard any situations where the young ladies, Aspen, McKelty, or any of them, Madison, fall into a situation where they are dating or with somebody who's mistreating them. Like, I haven't heard that scenario, and I'm happy for it. But I also recognize that sometimes these type of situations skip a generation, So you always have to be, I'm in my position, I'm always trying to be mindful of how I present to my kids and how I present their mom to my kids, because I don't want them to ever look at it like, oh, this is how dad did it. And especially sometimes you have relationships that last a long time, but they aren't good relationships. It's just that they were able to endure or suffer through years and years of mistreatment. It doesn't necessarily mean that, we've been together for 20 years. Ask them, were they happy? Ask them, are they proud of their relationship? Things like that. Don't just, I did the time. People go to prison for 20 years. Just because you locked in a bad situation don't mean it was a positive thing or you put in the work, right? So yeah, it's always, wanting to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And Cody recognizes, and to Brittany's point, I think that even Cody recognizes that at some level, how you treat these young ladies or their experiences, these young men, their experiences can impact their future, and they can become bitter people, and it can affect their outlook. But let me give Brittany a little something. All right. Thank you so much. Get back to these phone calls. All right. Awesomeness. Sassy experience. What?
Hey, James, Sassy Experience. Wanted to hit on something that you mentioned today that I've actually said 1,000 times since I started watching Sister Wives. And it's the fact that Cody's fascination with Robin was because he could impress her. He couldn't impress necessarily the OG3, even though they all truly loved him. They couldn't be impressed by him. Why? Because they went through struggle city with him. They helped build him up to this quote unquote man that he is, this man of means. But Robin wasn't part of that struggle. And so she is thoroughly impressed by what he brought to the table. Even though it was because of the OG3, he was able to bring anything to the table. But she was impressed by it. And so he got to be almost like a renaissance man, a whole brand new man for her. And she was dazzled by the lights, the glitz and the glory. And it also helped that he was able to actually lift her out of her poverty situation. Whereas with the OG3, they worked to lift themselves out. So they weren't impressed by him at all. And she was. And I've always said that's been his fascination and the reason for his quote unquote lust and love for her.
Yeah, I think I absolutely. I said the same thing, Sassy. I'm gonna keep it all way a stack. I said the same thing. Preach it, gal. Preach it. Read. Okay. I said the same thing. I think that when push comes down to shove, one of the hidden dynamics to the relationship he had with the OG3 versus the relationship he had with Robin, and how you view it, the perspective in which you view those relationships makes all the difference in the world. As a for instance, when he's dealing with Robin, he gets to be the savior. He gets to be the guy who came in, rode in on his white horse, white knight, and he got to lift her up out of poverty. She was living in her, she was staying in her mom's house or a relative's house in Salt Lake. He got to put her in a house around the corner. He was paying for it with the family. She didn't have to work. So I'll say it one more again. She didn't have to work. And some people will say, but she was shooting a TV show. That's true. But they didn't, when she came to Lehigh, let's be very clear, they did not get paid yet. That first season was for free. I'm going to say it one more again because I don't think people understand what I'm saying. I don't think they get it. Yeah, that first season was free. What is that? What does that mean? Oh, they didn't get paid? No, they got paid at the end of the season. You don't get paid till after you work. If you finish working, that's when you get paid. I'm telling you 100%, you don't get paid. These reality shows, they don't cut you a check to start you out. They cut you a check at the end of the season when everything is done, everything is filmed, because you could go in, if they wrote you a check out, especially a poorer family that's struggling to pay bills, you write them a check out. Say you gave them $50,000. Or, with that many people, that's like $10,000 a piece. That ain't enough. But you wrote them a check out, say for $200,000. You wrote them a $200,000 check out, $100,000 check out. Here you guys go. Just please finish filming. They get halfway through, somebody asks a question they don't like. They try to film in a place they don't like. They film the kids cutting up, and they don't want to show that on the show because they think it's embarrassing. They realize that what they're doing might embarrass them or embarrass their faith or their church or their standing in the community. I'm not shooting no more. I'm not filming. I refuse to film. Well, give us the money back. That money is spent. Good luck getting it. That's why they don't pay you. They don't pay you till the end of the season. What does that mean? That first season was free. So when they moved Robin down, the TLC is not going to foot the bill for Robin to live around the corner. Because I have a feeling that somebody's going to say that. TLC paid for that apartment, that house around the corner. They did not. I can guarantee you they did not. They did not put Robin up around the corner. That is not what happened. Because if they put Robin up, because here's how I know. How do you know that, James? Here's how I know. Because I know how production companies work. And production companies are not going to pay for you to be in a place that they can't film in. If they were paying for you to be in an apartment or in a house, they are filming in that apartment or that house. There was only a couple scenes where they filmed inside of Robin's house. There was only a couple scenes. It was not a thing where they were in Robin's house all the time. They were not paying for that house. If they gave, because in fact, Robin could even, according to Cody, he wanted to marry Robin. And even in the book, he had said that he couldn't marry Robin. They didn't have the money for him to marry Robin. And it was a big expense. And at one point, he had even thought about selling his car because they were in such financial straits. They were not doing well. Now, we oppose that to the OG3 as a segue. With the OG3, they were there when he was broke. Like, as Janelle said, they was holding their drawers together with safety pins, when they were with Cody. And it's hard for somebody who see like there's an old well, Kevin Hart had a joke about it. I've said it like even when I was a kid. Like there's a point where if you stand outside and you watch somebody get their ass whipped, you watch a bully get their ass whipped, nobody is scared of that bully after that. Like if that bully get knocked out and he get 2 of his teeth knocked out his head, nobody, when he sit there whistling, give me all your money. Nobody is saying, ooh. Hey, get your ass out of here, snaggle, before I get that man to come back here and put his hands on you. That's how it goes. See, because you've been diminished. And in the same light, when you're struggling, where Cody is coming from, he can't come in there and be like, I know what I'm doing. I'm the boss. I'm taking care of everything. I got it. I'm saving you guys. Because these women will look right back at him and be like, well, you saving us from what? Exactly. Because we're all showing up to work. We're all contributing. This is what we've been doing. This is nothing new. The money is better. Yeah, for sure. We're making, bank accounts looking lovely. But nothing has changed. We are all working together. That's the difference of perspective. Now, when I say the difference of appreciation of that perspective, Cody looked at it and he sees that as a liability because he wants to be the savior. He wants to be the guy who's taking care of his family. He wants to be the provider. He wants to be that manosphere God that they talk about on the internet and on YouTube. He wants to be the Captain Red Pill. But me, I look at it different. See, because if you struggle with me and you came up with me, I don't look at that as a liability. I look at that as somebody who is loyal. Like he talks about loyal. The loyal one is the one who was there when you didn't have shit. Okay, I know that's a cuss word and we ain't supposed to be cussing, but it is what it is. A loyal one is the one who was there when you was down. The one who when you got knocked down, they got down there with you. When you started coming up, they was coming up with you. And part of the reason why you were able to come up was because they were standing there propping your ass up. They was there holding you up. And when you felt down, you felt like you couldn't continue. You felt like you couldn't go on anymore. These are the ones that came by with a box of tissues and a carton of damn ice cream, sat there with you on the curb, let you cry. They cried with you, and then they encourage you to get up off your shoulders and keep it pushing. That's loyalty. That's loyalty. That's what the face of loyalty looks like. That when you talk about somebody who will come in and help you build, that's what you want. That's what you want. If I was to sit back in a mighty chair of judgment and I was able to say, if you could pick a partner between somebody who would be appreciative of the things you could give them versus somebody who could help you get those things, I would 100% say go B, go for that second door. Why? Because if you are with someone who appreciates all the things you gave them, like Robin said, she may be very appreciative of the stuff that Cody was able to give her and provide her and afford her to be able to do. She might appreciate all that. But what happens if you lose it? What happens if you show up one day and your show gets canceled and you get knocked down? She's used to being able to go to the store or run that credit card, run it on that card, pass that plastic off and get whatever she wants. She's used to being able to do that. And when you can no longer provide those things, guess what happened? Oops, drop something. You get option B. You go with that second door. You got somebody who helped you build it up. So guess what happens? If you lose everything, they're not going nowhere. Been here, done that. Got the t-shirt. Let's get back to work. Because they know what it was like to be down. They know what it's like to be up. So if they get knocked down, they know what to shoot for. They know what it is. And that's why I say when it's hilarious to me that Cody sits there all the time talking about loyalty, because that, my friend, is what loyalty looks like. If she don't you got that nice Benzo, you got that Benz, that white Benz convertible you just went out on a date with, looking fly. Yeah, wheel spinning, top down, rear wheel spinning, all that. That's amazing. Fantastic. You get to go to an expensive restaurant. Stupendous. Your wife takes $5,000 out of y'all bank account and get you some jewelry. Amazing. Right? That you basically bought yourself. Awesome. Right? Awesome. But is that loyalty? No. Loyalty looks like the person when that you get that cancellation notice in the mail and you trying to figure shit out and you sit around the table. Loyalty is the wife that comes in instead of dropping off a fistful of bills that you need to figure out how to pay. Loyalty is she put on a pot of coffee, she sits down next to you and say, let's figure this out. Just saying. Just saying. Next up, we got anonymous. Anonymous, what you doing? See, that's what I'm talking about. You don't have to necessarily put your name in. So you put it as anonymous. That's what I put it as.
Hey, James, I was thinking back to the time that Robin, in a season finale interview, had made a point to say this crazy rule about how, in their faith, once Christine, she's referring to Christine and David, once Christine had sex with someone else, then she was divorced. So she was still married to Cody until she had had sex. Robin saying was her understanding. Now, everybody else said they had never heard of that. We do know from Mel and Corey that they change the rules as they go along, but it led me to think, I wonder if this is the line that Cody and Robin were selling each other to give them a reason, a permission to do things beforehand, because Robin was still married. So they would have to keep her from being attached to David for eternity, right? Any thoughts?
That's a good theory. That is a good theory. The only thing that I would say that might debunk it, well, I'll do it in reverse. So I'll oppose it and then I'll support it in the next spot. But as far as I know, Robin was never married or sealed to David in the temple. From my understanding, if we have any Mormons here or somebody from the, well, clearly probably not somebody from the AUB, they won't admit it. But if we have somebody who is Mormon and knows better than me, please put it in the chat. But if you're not sealed to the person or you're not married within the church, and I don't think they could be married in the church because she was pregnant when she was married. So I don't think that they seal you if you're pregnant. Like I don't think it's like some churches you could be standing there in full bloom and they go ahead and get married. Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? Some churches they won't do that. They don't play them games. You can't show up with a bun. You know what I mean? So if it is, it have to be like, you can't tell. But from what I understand, I don't think that they were sealed. So because they were never sealed, technically, Cody could marry her. But I think part of the reason why, at least from what I understand from Mel and Corey, that's notes to self 444. But from what I understand, what they were saying is that because she had been married, and she had only been separated, I think, for 9 months or something like that. They had to wait the full year for her to be separated from her husband because she couldn't be with anybody within that year. I could be mistaken. Maybe I'm butchering this, but I think that's, from what I recall, that's what they said. Now that would be against it. The logic of it, though, that when you hot and heavy and you looking for excuses, dumbass excuses are good excuses. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like when you doing your thing, you in there, you in the mix, you got it going. You just looking for a reason as to why this is gonna be okay. You already have it in your mind you're gonna do it. You just trying to find that reason to justify it. You could be the moon is in the third moon of the house of retrograde of Saturn, and Jupiter is coming together, rising in the house of Orion, and you just uttering bull stuff, just to justify what it is you're doing. So yeah, could I see that being maybe a conversation they had? Yeah, I could. I'm not going to say that it's, I'm not going to rule it out. I'll say that. I'm not going to rule it out. It's a possibility. But thank you so much for the call, Anonymous. Next up, we have a Sunny Bunny in the house.
I think Cody doesn't realize that it's not just us watching the show. It's also his kids, right? So in lack of a genuine relationship with his own children, or all they're left with is the show. That is their connection to their dad, which is very, very sad. But apart from this, imagine being Aspen, right? And seeing how much of a show Cody puts on whenever it's about Robin's kids, getting them bikes or scooters or whatever they were for Christmas, building the vanity, pretending to play Jenga or whatever for Christmas, uh, baptizing them, getting them pierced, doing all of this extra stuff. And when they look at their own lives, there's no father figure there, right? And for some of them, right, they have a dad in David, but that's it. What about Janelle and her kids? So I think it's only logical for them to ask themselves, what is it about me that makes dad not show up for me the way he shows up for Robin's kids? Why doesn't he like me? And I think that would be heartbreaking, and it should be heartbreaking.
I think that that's an excellent point. There's a couple things I wanted to say with that. With one of the cruel things about being on a reality show, and this is why, if TLC ever came to me and asked me, James, you want to do a reality show? The answer would probably be a hard no, because in order for this show to work, I understand that there has to be some sense of drama. There has to be some sense of struggle, something to raise against. That's what a TV show is. Just good TV. It's just good storytelling. And the thing with that is that because this is a family-based show, like you obviously could have like career-based shows. Like if you were watching, I used to watch before I'd say I don't watch reality shows, but before I started watching reality shows, I watched reality shows, but they were more in the form of like West Coast Choppers, Orange County Choppers. I was watching Rust Belt, like guys fixing up cars or fixing up motorcycles, that kind of thing. And even then, like it was corny, just like the rest of it. But the struggles were different. And what the struggles in those shows were versus like say the family-based shows is that it would always be, we got to put this project together, we got to do this motorcycle for this customer, and they want this fantastic design and there's no way we're going to be able to do it, and oh my goodness, we only got a week to get it done, etc., etc., etc. And before it's all over, like the one guy seems to be like loafing off or whatever, and his dad, like there was a Orange County, it was like a father-son deal, and they were like, you mess it up, and he would throw stuff around the shop and he'd be all upset, and the son would throw stuff at the father and cuss him out. And then by the end of the week, the chopper would come together and everything be perfect and they'd be hugging it out. And that was every week on the show. And it's the same thing with West Coast Choppers. If you watched what was the other reality show that was popular that guys used to watch? What was that? Pimp My Ride. It was the same thing. We ain't gonna be able to get this car together. It's a piece of trash. And they would, later on you find out they took cases, they took months to put the damn car back together. And even if they got the car together, they would put a bunch of stuff in the car. They would destroy the car, destroy the electrical in the car, or it wasn't safe for the road, or in most cases the damn thing would break down. So you'd have a car with a water fountain in the back, got a fountain and a chandelier hanging from the roof, but the damn thing don't start. Like that's the driver of those type of shows, reality shows. In the family shows, you have to have some kind of struggle. So somebody's not getting along with somebody else. In this particular case of the sister wives, it's Cody having a disagreement with his wives. That's what's driving the show right now. His conflict with his wives. And that would be because he's not talking to his kids. That would be the only thing that the kids get to see. The only thing they get to see is hear about how their dad never loved their moms and how their moms ain't this and their mamas ain't that, and they all trash ass people and da da da. That's what all the kids are hearing. So that becomes very dangerous and damaging. One of the other things that she said, hold on one second. There was a last point that she made. Hold on one second.
I think Cody
Uh,
doesn't realize that it's not just us watching the show, it's also his kids, right? So,
uh,
in lack of a genuine relationship with his own children, or all they're left with is the show, that is their connection to their dad, which is very, very sad. But apart from this, imagine being Aspen, right? And seeing how much of a show Cody puts on whenever it's about Robin's kids, getting them bikes or scooters or whatever they were for Christmas, building the vanity, pretending to play Jenga or whatever for Christmas, uh, baptizing them, getting them.
okay, I remember what I. Yeah, part of the other downside is because they film it all. There's another downside to it, which is a character flaw that they push onto the wives when they enter into plural marriage. You can't be jealous. Sharing or comparing is the doorway to the devil, or whatever they say, right? And with that, that might be an agreement that you have with your wife, or your wives, but that's not something you can press onto your children. You can't press onto your children that, yeah, if I spend more time with these other kids than I do with you, or I do things with these other kids that I never did with you, you can't feel bad, because comparison is the doorway to the devil. That doesn't hold water. It doesn't make sense for a child. Okay, they just know that dad wasn't there when I was playing my games, or I was doing my little school shows. I look out into the audience, or up into the stands or whatever, and you weren't there. And then I see you on TV celebrating. So again, this is very damaging for young folks, and this would be very damaging for relationships. That's why I'll watch the reality shows, I'll criticize them, but I would never be on one. They're better than me from that respect. I wouldn't put myself or my family through this, because it would be a lot, and it would be heartbreaking for them. Like, especially having conversations and discussions. I might have a discussion, or maybe a argument or whatever with my wife. I don't want to see, like, we have the argument, we resolve it, we're over it, we're done with it. I don't want to watch that argument 6 months from now when it airs on TV and have everybody like, yeah, James, you was wrong for that shit. I don't want to talk about it. Or if it was a thing where, it was really hurtful, or something really bad happened, and it might have pushed you to the brink. Sometimes, and a therapist, I'm sure, would say, James, this is terrible. But this is what happens. This is how people get by it. You overlook it. You just look past it. Like, all right, well, I'm not going to focus on that. I'm just going to, ignore it. Okay? Because in a world of real relationships, every you know ill thing that happens isn't a discussion. Everything isn't going to have closure. Every problem isn't going to get solved. That's how it works in the real world. Sometimes you just have to put a healthy dose of forget on that shit, and move on, right? You just have to, okay, I'm not going to put too much on it. I'm not going to think too much about it. I'm going to just let it go. But then when you're watching it in 4K, it's hard to forget about it. Like with the whole thing with Isabel and the surgery, maybe Cody didn't mean it that way. Maybe he's sorry, he's regretful, but it's hard to let it go, bro. It's hard to let it go. I don't think I've done a live yet where somebody didn't talk about Isabel's surgery, because it's a major thing. It's a major thing. And maybe to you guys it's not major. This is also kind of one of them weird things, just as an aside note. This is one of those weird things where if if you have an issue or problem with your significant other, you don't run back and tell every issue and problem that you have with your significant other to your parents or your friends or family, because especially if it's something that you can forgive, or something you can look past and you can get over, your friends and family might not. So if you're willing to forgive, like in worst case scenario, maybe not worst case scenario, but a bad situation, you might be willing to forgive adultery. Your parents might not. Tell Joe he is never welcome in my house again. You know what I mean? It creates problems. So this is, reality TV is that constant reminder They tell Joe he is never welcome here. If I see him in the streets, that's his ass, So you just gotta be careful with it. But good point. Thank you, Sunny Bunny. Next we have Mary Marmolejo.
Hey, James, Mary here. Hey, just wanted to talk about Cody Brown entering polygamy. I just don't think he studied it enough. I don't think he knew enough about it. He probably returned from his mission in 1989, January 1989. Maybe he decided to convert to polygamy, maybe by May of that month. But in February, he starts courting Mary and marries her in April. How much could this person know about polygamy except that you can have multiple wives and they can't leave you? So I just don't think Cody knew that much about polygamy at all. I think his father knew a lot more about polygamy and didn't even attend his wedding with Christine because he thought he was doing polygamy wrong. And that was just within the first 3 years of his marriage to Mary. So my whole thing is that I don't think Cody studied this. He knew enough about it. Not even sure when he would have converted to wanting to be in polygamy. He was back from a LDS mission for 2 years promoting that religion. So I don't know. I don't buy that he knew that much about this. And I'm sure he'll never admit his failures, but we all know. What say you? Let me know.
No, I think those are excellent points. I think I said that earlier. Excellent points. I think that when you enter into these types of relationships can be very damaging and dangerous, especially if you yourself don't have the patience, maturity, temperament to be able to manage multiple relationships, multiple different peoples with individuals who really, like, if you really put things like rubber to earth, or as they say, rubber to the road, if you really get down into the dirty of it all, if we're going to be honest, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robin are all different people. There's a possibility, and I'm going out on a limb here to say this. There's a strong possibility that had it not been for the fact that they had actually married into the Brown family, married Cody, and were in one big family together, that these 4 women never would have found themselves in the same social circles. They never would have been friends. They had nothing in common. And with that being said, in order for you to be able to manage a relationship with individuals who not only are individuals, but people who are completely different from one another. And maybe the one thing that they have in common is that they're committed to their children. Like, I don't think that anybody could say that Robin isn't necessarily committed to her kids. Like, she might be selfish and have a selfish way of going about it, but I don't think that we could say that she doesn't care about her children because she's putting things in place for her kids. Mary, Janelle, Christine, I think they all care for their kids. So they have that in common. But aside from that very superfluous or superficial aspect or trait, there's not a lot that these women would actually have in common. Like Janelle and Christine's relationship, as close as they are now, their relationship is where it is now because they had kids together, they raised kids together, and it's kind of that bunker friendship. They went through the war together. They were different kind of people when they went into the war. They struggled together. They fought together. They did what they needed to do. And on the other side of that, they have a friendship and a bond because of the things that they went through, not necessarily because of the people that they were. And because they aren't the type of people who could walk into a room and have those types of connections with each other, you would have to be able, as the husband, Cody would have to be the type of individual where he could manage each one of those relationships in a way to where not only could those women coexist with one another, but they could coexist with one another because you're instilling in them the confidence, security, and the drive to be able to exist with one another. There's a desire. You're able to fire that up and keep that fire burning, right? So I don't know if Cody had that skill set. And to be honest with you, it's not even so much a shot on Cody because at 20 years old, there's a lot of guys that think they can manage a bunch of women at the same time, and they do a piss poor job at it because this is something that is extremely difficult. It would be extremely difficult. Shit, I'm not 20 now, I'm clearly not 20. Hello, right? And I couldn't manage 4 or 5 women. There's no way. I have no desire to even try. And to be honest with you, my lack of desire to try is based in my maturity. Like, I understand that there's some things I can do and some things I can't do. And to be honest with you, some things that even if I could do it, because maybe I could do it, but I don't even want to try. Like, I have no desire to even try because it would be insane. Okay. It'll drive me crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just, hell no. Hell no. Nope. 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 There's nothing attractive about it with me. So, but thank you, Mary Marmolejo. I think we had one more from you. That does not feel right. Hold on one second. Let me just check something real quick. Yeah, I do have 2. So where's the other one? Let's try this.
Hey, James, Mary here. Hey, just wanted to talk about Cody Brown entering polygamy. I just don't think he studied it enough.
That was one. Here's 2.
Hi, James. Part 2 to the Cody Brown joining polygamy. This is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but when did Janelle convert to polygamy? Because she married her husband in 1988. She probably stayed with him till about May 1989, 6 months. She divorces him in 1990. Then she marries Cody in 1993. So yes, she had a long time to study polygamy. But my question is, when did that happen? Because her family didn't know it. She said her family cut her off when she married Cody. So again, did she join a faith not telling anybody? Did she study a faith? Nobody knew that's what she was doing. I don't know. It just kind of doesn't always make that much sense to me. But Janelle did say, and I think this is from her book, when I met Cody in passing, I go, oh. And then she also goes on to say she sort of had a feeling, in quotation marks, oh, there you are. So I don't know when Janelle said this, of when she married him or anything like that, but wow, it just turns out Janelle was the most devoted one, and I absolutely love Janelle, so sorry, but let me know what you think.
All right. Just for clarification, it's my understanding from what I read in the book and things that they've talked about on the show, as well as in different interviews. From my understanding, Janelle was raised in the LDS church, right? And she met and then married Mary's brother, who was part of, I think he grew up in the AUB church. Like they converted. Mary's family was also LDS, and then they converted when Mary was young. So he was brought up in it from there. But he married Janelle. They didn't take on a second wife. They weren't living the principle. As you mentioned, they divorced after 6 months. But Janelle had maintained a friendship with Mary. And Mary, according to her, she just even described Mary and Cody as her polygamous friends. Like, that was a interesting thing that she had in her life. Like, she herself, she wasn't a polygamist. She didn't know any other polygamists. She grew up in a church where they didn't practice polygamy. So Mary and Cody were her polygamous friends. So when they get together, Mary, or not, before they get together, Cody and Mary actually move into Janelle's house, and they were renting a room from Janelle, and they're hanging out with Janelle, spending time with Janelle. Cody started going over to Janelle's workplace to have lunch and things of that nature, and they started talking and sniggling and giggling. You know how it go. They smile too much, they kiss too much, they hug too much. Next thing you know, they're in a relationship. And they were able to convince Janelle, talk Janelle into, I have a testimony that you should be in my family. And Janelle accepted that testimony. In fact, she took her mom, where the disruption in her family comes in. she took her mom, who was very skeptical of Janelle's conversion to the AUB or entrance into the AUB faith. She took her mom out to meet Cody's parents before they were married. She fell in love with Cody's dad, and actually Janelle's mom married Cody's father before Cody and Janelle were married. So at that point, when Cody and Janelle got married, technically Janelle is the entanglements are crazy. Janelle was married to Mary's brother. That's her ex. Then her mom married Cody's father. So technically, Janelle and Cody were stepbrother and stepsister when they got married, if that makes sense. So I mean, it's kind of windy and windy around a lot of different things. But Janelle, hands down, I think out of everybody who was on the show, at least to me, Janelle is probably the one person who I could say accepts and practices polygamy probably the closest to where it would actually be successful, if that makes sense. Like Janelle's able to get her like Janelle is an independent woman who likes to live independently, but she likes to have the tie of being married to somebody, but she doesn't necessarily want to have to do the have the responsibilities of doing the wifely duties on a daily basis. So she kind of likes her husband to come in, they hang out, they spend time together, they connect, however you want to say it. And then at the end of the night or his time, he goes home and then she's back to doing Janelle again. And she had Janelle, out of all of them, also had a lot of the confidence and security in her relationship to allow Cody to go out and do what he needed to do with Robin. So there wasn't a whole lot of the jealousy that say Christine and Mary had towards Robin. Janelle didn't necessarily have that. So out of all of them, I think that and this includes Cody, I think that Janelle was probably the most suited for polygamous relationships. So, was it a smart move? I mean, probably not, looking back on things. And there's a possibility that maybe Janelle could make it successful. Like maybe Janelle could make it work, but she would need a partner who has a certain level of maturity in order to make it work. I don't know if Janelle is really interested in trying again. So that horse might already left the barn. All right. But next we have just so we have everything clear, Lizzie B posted this PSA warning. Please be respectful to our hosts, guests, mods, and viewers. No hate speech. Repeat offenders will be timed out and muted. Thank you. Yeah, we got to respect each other, make sure that we keep everything cool, because we're trying to build a community where we're very supportive of one another. And if you guys have differences of opinion, you can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that that's probably the best way to go about it. Just because we're talking about, with regard to some of the stuff, like I understand some of the passion, but with regard to a lot of it, we're talking about things as we understand them and with the information that we have. If you have a difference of opinion, especially of opinions that are a little more established, we'll say, I would encourage folks to cite your evidence, because I would love to learn more. If you guys have a different perspective and you think that something is wrong or incorrect and you have additional information, give me your information and we can have a conversation about it. I'm not going to necessarily accept it on its face, but I mean, we can certainly talk about it, because I'd love to learn it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll stand corrected. I've had people say stuff to me and like they'll write comments. I'd read the comments in the videos. I don't always get to respond back, but I do try to read all of them. And I'll see stuff where people, disagree or they'll cite something. And I stand corrected. I have no problem with admitting I might be wrong about something, because I don't know everything, which is, it is what it is. It's just part of the human condition. I'm over it. So yeah, I would, so if you disagree, disagree. Macias, I don't think we've heard from her yet.
Hi, James. My name is Macias. I came across your
Yes.
YouTube channel earlier this year. Just want to say I love your lives. I love your take on all things Sister Wives and also the 90 Day Fiancé stuff. I definitely give those videos a click. So I would love to see more 90 Day Fiancé stuff. I just wanted to say, as far as Robin and Cody, the show's been going on for a while. And I remember back then it just seemed so boring, you know? And now everything everyone would say was going to happen, it's happening. And I feel like I'm personally just so sick of Cody and Robin trying to constantly save face and like have this little facade at the same time as like insulting the audience's intelligence and the other wives. Like, they just think that we are so dumb. I'm think they either need to let go of that little fakeness and just like own who they are and stay on the show if it continues for longer, or they should just get kicked off. It's Robin is just constantly playing dumb, and so is Cody, and they know exactly what they're up to. They need to own it to stay on the show or get kicked off. It's getting old.
I think that that's a fair play. Like at the end of the day, it's kind of like what I just said about like if you have a difference of opinion, Cody and Robin, just because you say something repeatedly, it doesn't prove anything. Like that's not proof. That's not evidence. So if you say they were disloyal, they not loyal, they disloyal. Just because you said it 50 times or every time the camera's on you or pans you, like it'd be like, you're disloyal, it doesn't mean anything. You have to put some meat on the bones. You have to, like, if you're going, especially something that's already established, something that is understood by the audience, it is your responsibility, not ours. It's your responsibility to make us understand why we're wrong. Because the show presents it one way. And if you don't ever go back, and I understand that they may be under NDA contracts, I understand that they can't talk about issues prior to it airing on the show. But after the show has aired that particular issue, TLC would have zero freaking problem with you going onto a live stream, you start your own YouTube channel, you talking on the podcast about things that had happened previously, and you giving color or context to the things that happened and your positions. They would have no problem with it. If anything, you might help the show, because you would give them something to have a conversation about. Like, if just the same way Christine and Janelle are coming on, oh, they can't do that because they'll get sued. Christine and Janelle and Mary have been going on to different talk shows. They've been doing the loops. Mary went on Tamra. Christine and Janelle constantly are on ET or People on their website versions. Like, they'll do interviews there. They've done interviews with several YouTubers or former reality people who now do YouTube. They've done those interviews, and they've talked crap. They've talked their stuff about Cody and Robin, and they filled in context. So if Cody and Robin decide to sit back on their hands and they don't want to defend themselves or say anything, you going on the show is not enough for you to talk about your pretty, quiet, shy wife. That is not going to work. That is not going to work. You got to come in with, and it helps if you come in with receipts. If you come in and you make a position and you're able to establish that position with receipts, not just your opinion, but receipts. Because like I said before, I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody who wants to come on the show, and you have a difference of opinion. I'll bring my receipts, but my full expectation is that you bring yours. I will back everything that I say, every position I have on this show that I talk, when I talk my stuff, I will back it up with a receipt. I will back it up. And I will tell you why I think what I think. I very rarely, because I understand the power of the microphone, I very rarely will come on here and say something that I don't think is true or I don't think I have evidence to support what I'm saying. I don't come on and just say, oh, and if I do say something, and I'll say I never do that, but if I do say something that I think is speculative, or I don't have like firm, concrete, we could watch it in 4K together evidence, I will tell you up front from the rip. This is speculation. This is me putting things together. And in my opinion, this is what I think happened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't come on and just start popping off saying, oh, this is what it is because this is what I say it is. And you got to listen to me because I'll say it what I'll say it. Like that. And it's not, I can't do it. And if I'm not going to tolerate that from myself, I'm not going to tolerate that from somebody else. So if Cody and Robin come on and they say, guys, you don't understand because you're not here, you don't film 24/7. Okay, fine. I don't have to film you 24/7. Just like with any like a bad person in history who's been convicted of a crime, and you say, well, you guys only know about me, Ruby Frank. You only know about me in connection to the 8 passengers and to that whole tragedy that happened out there in the desert. But there's more to me as a person than what happened with my kids on that fateful day. That might be true. But at the same time, I don't really care because all I need to know is what happened when that little boy walked up to that door and rang that doorbell and the story came out. That's all I needed to know about you. Now you can go away. That's what it is. Like when it comes to Cody and Robin, if they just want to sit there and be quiet and just want to collect checks for TLC, you will get smashed, bashed, dashed, and destroyed. And then after this show is over, and I guarantee this show is going to end. I don't care if it's like in the next 2 seasons or 20 seasons. At some point, people are going to get tired of watching Sister Wives. It is what it is. There is no show that's been on forever. Okay? Since the dawn of television, this show has been running. All right. Shows get canceled all the time. Good shows get canceled all the time. So to sit there and pretend like, I can just be quiet and not add anything to the story, and I'll just get there and say, no, that's not true. No. Hey, you think that that's going to last another 15 seasons or help you with a spinoff show? I 100% agree with the position that was taken. You are not going to make it, bro. So, and my whole thing is, if they have something to say, especially if it's something in contrary, look, if you guys disagree with what they're saying, instead of you just coming out saying, no, they're lying or they're wrong, bring some receipts, bring some evidence. If you say you paid $170,000 more than these other women on Coyote Pass, drop them receipts, drop that evidence. Don't just get up there and say some shit, because I can come back and I could break that all the way down where that 170 comes from and why it's not valid. I can do that, and I can do that using the footage from the show. So if you want to contradict that, you have to come with something more than just don't listen to your lying ass eyes, listen to me. That it's just not going to work. So I 100% agree. Next up, we got Misty, aka Aunt Smitty, in the house.
Hi, James. This is Misty, aka Aunt Mitty. I was just watching your video and the discussion of Robin and how she speaks and these little tricks uses. And one thing I've noticed with her is she will not make a factual statement of it was X. It is always, it was this, or something. This happened, it seemed. Everything gives her a way out, everything she says. And I would love to see her on the stand in a trial and an attorney try to get her to just give a concise answer and not qualify it or give herself a way out. It just cracks me up. So the fact that she's able to do all this also shows how intelligent Cody is. I've never seen anyone so easily manipulated. And I don't know about you, but I worry about that man when she up and leaves him, because he is so oblivious to her manipulation. And when it rains down on him that, hey, maybe she was never really hot for you, he's going to lose his damn mind. And I'm probably going to laugh.
All right, I'm in the house. You know what? I would just say that to add to that, I think that that's one of the things that folks find disingenuous about Robin in the way she presents herself, because everybody goes through things. Everybody goes through stuff. And it's the fact that she's so afraid. And this, again, this, I said this in a video previously. This could be the reason why she's afraid, because there is a push, kind of like Ruby Frankie, kind of like some of the other folks that we see in popularized Utah based videos and things of that nature, and that culture, where you want to present that you're the perfect wife, that you're a good wife, that you're a perfect spouse and perfect mom, and you want to try to keep everything ordered. That's part of the struggle that the TikTok moms had, is that they're always trying to, like, even after the scandal broke, they're still trying to go back and establish that they're these perfect women who are all there for each other. And you can see the cracks in the system and you see where it's not working, but they still, nonetheless, they still come on and try to present themselves as like perfect together people who are making things work. And I see that, and I understand that. And with Robin, I think that could be a built-in excuse for her. Like, she's trying to make it so she's telling lies, not necessarily because she's an evil person and she's conniving. She just wants people to think that she's a good mom and a good wife. And the problem that you have is that when people start sniffing out lies and inconsistencies, they stop trusting you. They don't trust anything you say. So when you go back and you try to remake history and try to put things back together, or even set the story straight, nobody believes you, because you've lost all that equity, that trust equity. And when it comes to a lot of the conversations, as far as like we, us, them, like I had that video where we were talking about that, I do find that annoying. And if you can't take responsibility for your part in something, I don't care what everybody else did. This is kind of like one of the conversations you have with your kids when they're real young. Hopefully they're real young when you had this conversation. But, the kids get into an argument, or they, God forbid, they put their hands on one another, and you come in and you break it up. Like, what the heck is going on? What are you doing? And they say, well, they did it to me first. Okay, well, I mean, the fact that they did it to you first, all right, that's bad. Don't do that. But the fact that you participated in it, the fact that, what did you do? Don't just talk about what they did and it's all their fault and they made you do something. What did you do? Take responsibility for your actions and your participation. When we talk about we are failing as a family, okay, we are failing as a family. That is a thing. But what are you doing? What is your contribution as to why you're failing as a family? And I think that that's where Robin kind of gets herself into trouble. That's where she drops the ball. And that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see her take responsibility for things that she has going on. All right, next up, we got Aaron.
Hey, James. I'm just calling in because I wanted to give a little more context to the Stanford Prison Experiment. The Stanford Prison Experiment, which you're talking about on your Thursday Live, is actually an experiment that's been denounced since then. In 1975, Banwazizi and Movahedi, something like that, wrote an entire article or an entire paper talking about how the participants themselves were willing participants. So they saw a prison experiment and advertisement for it and decided to go do it. They are also all white male middle-class college students who are participating in this. And then prior to the study itself, Zombardi, who was the one who set up the experiment, talked to them, told them that they could make the prisoners feel helpless, that they were the ones in total control, things like that. After the experiment, they talked to some of the prison guards, and the prison guards admitted, yeah, I was playing up certain things so that I could be like this different prison guard who I've seen on TV, or this kind of thing, or I knew these kinds of things happened in prison, so I just imitated that. And then in 2002, BBC did another prison experiment and found almost the exact opposite thing to have happened in their prison experiment, where they had a more diverse population and did not give information beforehand on how abuse actually happened in prisons and how to abuse the prisoners. So they actually all banded together and worked together in most cases.
Okay. To that, I would say I agree. Just as to fill in some of the blanks or fill in to color in what you're saying, because I'm not disagreeing with the position that a lot of the Stanford experiment was debunked later as a rule. But I will say this: I think that there's parts where we can look at it and see the influence that actually happened in that experiment, because every piece of information gives you additional information. Part of Zimbardo was a person who put this study together. Part of the failings of the studies was that it was coached cruelty. From that respect, Zimbardo gave his perspective on how he thought the study should go, and there was encouragement to the people who were the prison guards in that model, and how they should act and how they could be cruel or whatever. Then you had the pre-written conclusion, as I talked about, as Aaron had mentioned, where he had actually, like, when you do a study, you're supposed to you're supposed to observe, and then that's part of the experiment. Like, so you set up you have a control group, then you have the experiment group, and then you observe what happens, and then after you've collected all that data, then you write your conclusion as to what you observed. In this particular study, in the Stanford study, they wrote the results of what was going to happen before the study actually took place. So that was a huge no as far as the efficacy of this study. Another thing that they had was the unethical practices. Um, the people who were the prisoners were in fact subjected to unethical pressures and treatment from the people who were prisoners. So there was an effect in that instance where they were the subject of cruelty and mistreatment. So even though the person who was holding the study had encouraged the guards to mistreat the prisoners were in fact mistreated. So that is a kind of a against why the study itself doesn't work, or the efficacy of the study isn't there, but it does show that there was harm with the study, that was harm done while participating in the study, I should say. The failure to replicate, I think that's what you were talking about, as far as the BBC was concerned. The BBC, and I think they tried to do it several times over, where they tried to replicate those same studies using the same parameters, and they weren't able to get the same result. It doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't true. It just means that they weren't able to duplicate it. The Let's see, lack of neutrality. Of course, we talked about that. Since Zimbardo, the guy who was the experimenter, he served as a prison superintendent. So he was actually involved with the study, and he was too heavily involved with how everything was kind of working out. So he was actually in charge of the guards. So that was a big no, because he could kind of direct how the outcome was going to be for the study. And of course, you can get into like the misleading textbook coverage, where it kind of misleads as to the like, people talk about it in form of psychology or nature of people. What I will say is this: the one thing that shit, okay, I don't see my thing. Where's my Johnny John? Oh, here we go. What I will say is this, okay. All right, there we go. What I will say is this. All right. Even though the study itself, you could say that the study was a sham, I will say this: that even though naturally maybe the guards weren't doing this on their own, reached this conclusion on their own when just gifted with power, they proceeded to use it. The fact is, they did use it. That still remains. Even if Zimbardo had encouraged them to mistreat the prisoners, they still did it. It wasn't like Zimbardo came to him and said, "I want you to go in there and kick Johnson in the nuts," and they said, "No, I demand you to." They did it. They deprived them. They abused them. There was cruelty. One of the other big X's for that study was the fact that the people who were involved with the study as prisoners didn't realize that they could stop doing the study. They were never told that you can stop this at any time. If you feel uncomfortable, you feel subjugated, you feel like you no longer want to participate, you can stop at any time. So in essence, they felt like they were prisoners. Now, where does that come in with regard to what I would propose or offer as sister wives? Where I think that comes in to this conversation is that how Cody and how the sister wives, all of them, Robin included, how they pursued or conducted their relationships within the confines of the marriage was not necessarily just simply because Cody felt like he had all the power. It was because they were much like in this study, Cody being the guards and the AUB leadership being the Zimbardo or the superintendent instructing the guard how to mistreat the prisoners. That's where I think the study actually takes more, like, in the truest, purest sense. I think that when we can extract information or glean anything from it, that's what we should glean from it. Is that given the opportunity, it's not just the absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's the fact that absolute power corrupts absolutely when you're instructed that the power should be used in a corrupt way. And that's where I think like what I offer that as a proof positive that people are always evil. No, but I will say that people have it in them. And I think that that's what that study demonstrates. Whether we hold the study as true to form because of the purpose or not, I think that what the study does demonstrate is that given the right poking, prodding, or guidance, you can get people to do some horrible things to other individuals. So that's kind of where I was at. But thank you for calling. I appreciate that. You know, and I appreciate you raising the point that, you know, if anybody were to say this study absolutely proves 100% that, you know, there are problems with the studies. So thank you very much, Aaron. Appreciate you. Next up we have I did that one. Let me make sure this doesn't feel right. What the hell? Let me just see something. Okay. All right. Sure. Just make sure. Okay, no, that does not. I thought I was ready. I was not ready. All right. Let's try this one.
Hey James, Tanya Carter. Um, I'm just watching this episode, and I'm watching Cody and Robin just live this lavish fairy tale, like Cody is some criminal defense lawyer that makes all this money and can afford this lavish life, or like he's a real celebrity, with millions in the bank and can afford the high end Mercedes and the $2 million home with a $20,000 mortgage before any other utilities or any other necessities need to be paid. And Robin's, $4,000 Valentine's gifts, and they're delusional. It's like watching someone who's been poor their whole life. Well, it really is, win the lotto and like not know how to save and put money away because it's gonna run out. Like, even if they go into season 20, season 21, it's gonna run out. Like, there's no way to sustain it, especially the way they're going. Like, they are just burning through it. Like, they've got millions in the bank. And I mean, even there's no retirement there, there's no savings. It's just living, every time they get any kind of money, they burn through it. I'm sure they have already burned through the money that they got off of their cut of Coyote Pass. It's just
Okay, hold on 1 second because I think she cut off.
continuation. It's just crazy. Um, Tanya Carter again. So I'm just saying, like, when I look at Cody, I see a guy who, when someone doesn't get to live out their youth the way they wanted to, and so whenever they finally come to a place in their adulthood where they are where they want to be, they act like a child again. It's like, that's how I feel Cody is. It's like the way Janelle was talking about how they had nothing in the early days. They were all young in their early 20s and had absolutely nothing. It's almost like now at 50 something, the little boy, the little 19, 20-year-old Cody in him is like living this fantasy with his dream girl and his dream life that he always wanted, and you know, screw everything else, and damn the, the responsibility of saving anything, because it's, like there's no tomorrow, like nothing could ever happen. And I know in the wee hours of the night he has to know, like, what the hell am I going to do when all this runs out, because this woman is a gold digger. He knows it, we know it, she ain't sticking around for it. It's just very interesting to me. Tell me what you think. Where do you think they'll be in, say, 5 years?
Ooh, 5 years. Ooh, wee. If they're able to turn things around, I think that, and by turn things around, I mean that they have to start kind of buckling in. One of the challenges, like I knew guys when I was younger who went into the leagues and like basketball, football. And one of the things that you notice early on is that if you are not managing your money properly, you will not only be right back where you started, you'll be in a worse situation than when you started. And I say that with regard to Cody and Robin, because if they keep spending money the way they're spending money, like $5,000 necklaces and jewelry, even if it's for show, like Cody's sitting there with like they showed like they made sure, and this is the thing about TLC. This is how I know TLC is no longer under Cody's thumb as much as they were. I'm not saying that he's 100% hands off, but they're clearly not in control of Puddle Monkey the same way they were, the production company the same way they were, because they zoomed in last week when they were, he was standing there holding that jewelry. They zoomed in on that ring to show that ring off again. And I think that ring was like that horse ring was the symbol of the jackass. That ring was like like $5,000-$10,000. And then Robin, I think she had a duplicate of it. And he jumps out of this brand new car. And we know that he bought like the $2.1 million house. And then they just sold like the other house for $1.5 million. And they had like all kinds of equity and things against that house. So they're living a lifestyle. And I don't think there's any dispute that right now they're doing financially well. They're doing well. All of them are doing well financially. So I don't think that that's as much of in dispute. But kind of what she had pointed out during the course of that, Tanya pointed out during the course of her call, there's no savings. Like there's no backup plan. There is no such thing as a pension for reality stars. Like you do your show, you get paid. There's no royalty checks coming. This is it. And that's one of the reasons why, like, when you look at reality stars and reality shows, part of why reality shows are so popular is because they are on the outside of SAG guidelines as far as the union, like the Stage Actors Guild. They're outside of those guidelines. So the same way you would get paid to be a SAG actor or actress, you don't get paid that same way on that same scale by doing a reality show. Reality show, you get paid one time. If you're a SAG actor and you were in a movie, a television show, or some kind of production where you were on screen somewhere, and you're by your contract, you would be getting a royalty check. So every time when they air your show, they have to license that show from the production company. When they license, whatever station or network sends that check off to the production company sends you a check as an actor or whatever, a person who participated in it. You get a royalty check. Reality shows don't get royalty checks. So whatever they get paid for that season is what they get paid. They also get paid based on the episodes that they appear in, which is completely different than if you are in the union. If you're in the SAG or Screen Actors Guild, you get paid every time you show up to work. If you show up and they're doing hair, you get paid. You show up you do your wardrobe, you get paid. You show up, you're reading lines, you're doing a table read, you get paid. So rehearsals, you get paid. Hair, makeup, you get paid. If you use your own clothes, you can get paid a little more. If you drive your own car, you can get paid a little more. The fact that you driving on camera, you can get paid a little more. If you do have any kind of skill or technique, you can get paid a little more. There's all kinds of different ways that you can get income by participating in a production. When you're a reality show, you only get paid for the shows you show up for. So if you see like on 90 Day Fiance, somebody said do more 90 Day, I will. 90 Day and Love After Lockup, got some videos coming out about that. But when you do those shows, on the episodes where they don't appear, they don't get paid for that. And what makes these shows so daunting is the fact that you could literally be shooting for 12 to 14, 15 hours a day with a camera crew. And you don't get paid for any of that until the season comes out. And whatever they cut and put together in the editing room, that's what you get paid for. I say all that to say this. If they're not being smart with their money, like I don't care how many tuitions you pay, how well your kids do, how many houses you buy. My big thing has always been, I don't want to buy something and then turn it back in. I don't want to buy a house and have to give it back because the bank man's showing up. And if they're not being smart with their money, then that money is, and the crazy thing, when you have a lot of money, it seems like that money go fastest. Because when you think of it like this, if you got a wallet or a purse full of money, your bank account's full of money, right? You're like, okay, I'll buy this, I'll buy that, I got it, I'll buy this, I'll buy that. I'll take my friends out, get some of that, put, you know what, go ahead, put something else on there. Buy them drinks over there. You living that life. But when you have a little bit of money, like you down to your last $10, right? You are mindful of every nickel, penny. Every time you walk by a store, it ain't worth it. You making those kind of decisions. Okay, when gas so high now, you be at the pump, you be making life decisions. You be looking up there. Do I want to spend $4-5 on gas? Because I got bills. Like I gotta pay bills. I got my credit card due. I got my phone bills due. I gotta send my mortgage in. I gotta make a car payment. So when you standing there, you only got like $20 or $200 in your bank account. Yeah, you count all that. But when you have 200,000 in your bank account, you just passing off your card before the guy even give you your total. You hand him your credit card. That's the difference in mentality, and that could lead to them finding themselves into trouble. Like I don't wish bad luck on nobody. I don't want nobody to be homeless and broken, desolate. But I see how it happens, and I think that with a lot of the spending that's going on, these are things to be concerned about. Now, just to give you a little preview of a video that I want to do, talking about the money, especially when it comes to like Janelle and them. We talk about like the money and the aspects of, the difference between like a Cody and a Janelle. Let's put them back to back. Janelle is better with money. And I'm going to back it up in my video. That's as far as I'm going to go, because I'll be giving away too many gems, and I see them later on in somebody else's thing, and I'll be mad as shit. But yeah, I'm gonna drop it right there. I'm going to do a video about comparison about how Janelle is doing her money versus how Cody and Robin are doing their money. And I'm going to drop it there. All right. Well, we're gonna keep it rolling. We only got a couple more left, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with a player. Let me just check one thing real quick before I get too far afield. Yeah, we're good. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go in right now. Out of appreciation for you guys, I'm gonna drop some that's not it. I'm gonna drop some memberships up in this piece. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna drop 5 memberships, y'all. Oh, fickety facts. Ah, damn it, I missed it. I wanted to drop 5 last week. I blew that. But yeah, we just dropped some memberships, so hopefully some folks can enjoy some of the things, some of the benefits. And then I'll be dropping some in future lives as well. So make sure you have the box checked off. Lizzie B, if you guys aren't sure, just ask Lizzie because she knows how to do it. I'm not as good as I wish I was. But just make sure you have the box checked off so that you can get gifted memberships if that's something you're into. Next up, went through the Tanya Cartas. Where's my? Okay, we'll do Sharon, and then we're going to do Tanya's bonus.
Sharon here again here, James. Just as a continuation of that question, in my mind, they would rewatch and tell us, well, what part did they hide from us, or what part did Cody want hid from us, kind of thing, and tell us the truths about those sections. Thanks. Sharon here again here.
That was in reference to Cody and them being honest for the thing. So I guess technically we already had one because we already talked about that. But thank you, Sharon. I have to reorganize it better for next time. But so this is all on me. Tanya with her bonus question. Bonus. Here we go.
James, it's Tanya Carter again. You don't have to use this one because it is Thursday now, and I know that you're going to probably use the one that I talked about earlier, which it's fine. But I did want you to address, if you can, if you have time, Cody saying on this past episode, all of the proceeds from Robin's house went back to pay off debts for the family. Sir, we all know that Robin had a lien on her house when she left Vegas. And although she got the most money for her house when she sold it, she didn't get all of that in proceeds because they owed on that house. So this is why Mary and Janelle had to put the proceeds from their house into the McMansion. The way this man lies, can you just address that whole comment of all of the proceeds from the sale of Robin's house paid the debts, and they're leaving wanting money that Robin is owed? Come on now. We all know she had a lien on her house. What is he talking about?
That's an interesting question. I'm glad you asked that, and part of the reason why I was so excited to include this in the in this particular live was because I think it's an interesting point, a salient point, and I want to give context to this point because, like Robin, I do speak Cody. I speak Codanese. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I speak Cody full-fledged. Yes, I do. Except the only real subtle difference is when I speak Cody, I use it for good. Robin uses it for evil. So I think that basically when Cody is sitting there talking about like Robin used her full proceeds to help benefit the family, and she used some of her house to pay off family debts, and y'all ought to be grateful for all that she gave up for her family. What he's actually saying, and this is my interpretation, and again, Cody, if I'm wrong, I invite you to come on to my show. I invite you to clear it up on whatever show or podcast you feel comfortable going on. Hell, you guys have cameras, you shoot cameos, set up a damn camera, open up a YouTube page, and respond to some of this stuff if that's what you feel like you need to do. But here's my perspective. Here's what I think is actually going on. What I think is actually going on, and please, let's get this straight. What I think is actually going on is that when he refers to Robin selling her house to pay off family debts, let's not forget, when Cody talks about family debts, what is he talking about? Anytime Cody talks about family debts, or he talks about the family, or he talks about the big picture, he's actually referring to himself. Say that one more time, James, for the people in the back. He's referring to himself. Okay, and when he talks about himself, he's saying that this house was sold in order to pay off family debts. It went towards paying off family debts. What debts is she talking about? The reason why Robin's house had a lien on it wasn't because Robin went out shopping. It was because when Dayton got hurt, he ran that ATV through that fence, and he had to pay off that medical debt. Then he had to get those plastic surgeries to put his face back together again. All that shit was Cody's fault. running that, pardon my French, running that boy, putting him on the back of something that he wasn't prepared to ride on. That was Cody's fault without a dang on helmet. Come on, y'all. Talk to a player. So you did all those things and you used it to threaten his father, ironically, so that you can get custody away from him. And I think part of the reason why he got custody away from him because the dad didn't want his kids being filmed on the show. Like if he put a kibosh on him being their participation on the show, that could have pulled Robin off the show and that could have put the show in jeopardy, which would have hurt Robin and Cody's bottom line. And that would have hurt the family because it would have messed Cody's money up. So everything that we're talking about with regard to the family is Cody's money. So when Cody was at the time when he sold the house, Cody's name was on Robin's house. He was partial owner to Robin's house. So when he had to pay that money out, pay back that equity, because for those who maybe not familiar, I think most of you probably are, when you have a home loan, that's the principal person who is on the debt. That's the lien holder on the debt. They're in the first position. So say you got your loan from Capital One or Wells Fargo, Core States. Well, Core States ain't in existence no more. But you got your loan from Mortgage One company, right? They have your mortgage. Then you have an unforeseen medical expense. So you go to medical expense equity to take out a second mortgage on that home. Right? When you sell your house, the Mortgage One gets their money first, then mortgage medical equity, they come right behind them, get what's left, they get their money, and then whatever is left from that is what your profit margin is. So when Robin goes to Arizona, she's not taking all that money that they made from the sale of her home. She's taking what's left over. And Cody may very well view the loss of that equity, which paid for medical debt, as the family debt or family expenses, because he is the family and he lost out. So therefore, this was something that went towards the family debt. This isn't something that Robin and by herself was responsible for. Because it impacts Cody, all of a sudden, this is family debt. And this is a sacrifice that the family made. So Robin is exalted because even higher because she paid off family debt. No, Robin paid off her debt. That's her debt and that's Cody's debt. Just like when Isabel went and got her surgery, that was Christine's debt. Just like, I saw in the chat, there's always somebody either in this chat or in the comment section who says that, Janelle declared bankruptcy too. Yeah, Janelle declared bankruptcy because of a medical debt, which was Madison. When Madison got her appendectomy, she had her appendix taken out. They had to, she couldn't pay the medical bills, which is how most people in America go bankrupt, by the way. She couldn't pay her medical bills, her medical debt. So she declared bankruptcy. And that was part of her bankruptcy. So a lot of this stuff is, and Cody didn't sweep in and say, whoa, that's my debt too. Oh, Janelle was paying off family debts. No. But when it was Robin's kid, because it affected Cody, because they were married at the time, that was him paying off Robin's family debts. And again, this is something I talked about in my last video. One of the curious things about the way Cody approaches or talks about the debt or the houses or the relationship with the wives, or he puts things on the wives and uses their names, he keeps himself out of it. Like he has nothing to do with it. If Robin has medical debt because she's married to Cody currently married to Cody has marital debt. The only way Cody could excuse himself from that debt is if him and Robin got divorced and then they had a judge adjudicate that debt belongs to Robin and he is not responsible for it. Until that happens, that's Cody's debt too. If I go to the Porsche dealership and I lose my mind, I'm about to lose my mind up and chill. And I go to the Porsche dealership and I take out a loan for a Porsche and I go wrap that bad boy, the GT3. It's like $250,000. I'm driving around in the house and I'm trying to do a bird out because I'm super cool hip guy, old dude trying to be young, and I do a bird out and I run that bad boy up into a tree, right? And my car, my $250,000 car, is now on the third branch to the left. When them people come for that car, they come for that money. They ain't gonna come for the car. They're gonna come for that money. I'm on the hook, and my wife is on the hook. She like, I ain't even sit in the damn car. He went to the dealership, picked the car up, tore it up on the way home. I ain't even sit in the car. She's still on the hook for the car. That's, you know what I mean? That's how that works. But when Cody talks about it, it's all of a sudden it's on that one. It's on Robin. Robin paid off family debt. No, she paid off her debt. And which was, when I say her debt, I mean y'all's debt. So that's where that house money came in. But again, this is also part of the reason why a lot of the things, when we talk about where they're going to be in 5 years and whether they could do a spinoff show, this is why a spinoff show won't work, because you guys say things that on the surface might excuse your bad behavior, but they don't make sense. And when you put it into context or you put additional information into it, it's easy to see that you're being disingenuous. And so therefore, why am I wasting my time watching a bunch of people tell me a bunch of things that I know aren't true? That's going to require me to go back behind them and verify. This is why I don't like hanging out with liars. Because who wants to hang out with somebody you can't trust what they say? You always got to second guess every time they say something, you got to second guess it and try to figure out if they're telling you the truth or not. Who the hell want to do that shit all the time? Nobody. I don't want to do that. That's not fun. Even if I'm proving you wrong, or I'm like, I get to pull my Perry Mason. Isn't it true? Like, who wants to do that all the time? Sometimes I just want to come home and ask somebody a question. They tell me the truth and I can just let that answer sit. With Robin and Cody, you can't do that. And so therefore, that's why that show, in my opinion, that's why that show won't work. I'm not trying to watch Mystery Mondays and shit. Like, I'm not trying to figure stuff out when I'm watching their shows. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I do like breaking them down and figuring out the foolishness. It's like a puzzle because I like doing puzzles, but most people don't. I'm one of them guys. I do Sudoku puzzles in pen because I like puzzles. I'm one of those people, weirdos. Okay, I sit down, like I me and my daughter got me this awesome Christmas present. We got to do it. It's like 9 puzzles that you basically do the puzzle. Each one of the puzzles is like 2,000, 3,000 pieces, and there's 9 of them. And then you finish all the puzzles, and you can put them all together to make one big ass picture, like big ass puzzle picture. But dope. I'm crazy enough where I'm scared to start it because I'm one of those people. If I sit down and start a puzzle, I can't get up and leave. Like, I have to. I'm compelled to. To the point where I got to finish it, right? And most people aren't that way. That's why that show won't work, because nobody's trying to sit there and figure out puzzles, especially you trying to relax. Why the hell I want to sit down there and try to burn brain cells up trying to figure out whether Robin and Cody are telling the truth? Like, no, it's just not fun. So, like, that's what I mean. Like, when it comes to that, the money that he supposedly spent for that debt, it's my belief and my position that when he talks about that money or the debt she paid, it's not, she wasn't paying something that, like, Janelle went out, had a crazy time at the the Victoria Hush, Victoria's Secrets, right? Or Stanley Be Quiet. She didn't go there. What they're talking about is she paid her medical debts. You paid your son's medical bills. That impacts the family. That impacts your family. Especially what was bothersome is that if you guys were operating under the previously stated rules, this is also part, you know what, if you say things out loud, it also goes back to when Robin talked about, there was a time when we all worked together to make things happen, and then we got here and things changed. The reason why is because when she sold her house and she used her house to pay for her medical debts, and she went from having a good amount of money equity to having a little bit of money, because you notice that when she bought her house, the McMansion, she had to take out money from the family. She had to take out Christine or Janelle and Mary's equity in order for her to qualify for that house. Why is that? Because she was already repaid. Christine repaid Robin And well, she repaid the family technically the money that they gave her to purchase her home as a down payment. She repaid that money. So they had to take that money and the money from that money to put on Coyote Pass, and they had to take Mary and Janelle's money and put that on the Robbins house because she didn't have it. That's when they were all working together. But as soon as Robin got that house, all of a sudden they're not working together no more. And that's why, like, the Cody math don't work. He's a math magician, him and Robin, but it doesn't work. It does not compute. That's my position. Yeah, but that's my take. Let me just see. Yeah, but we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, but what is this? Just checking some things. Hold on. Okay, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I think that the numbers game is always going to be there and it's always going to be problematic. I was just checking through some of this stuff, but I think the numbers game is always going to be problematic for them because when you can't say, because I enjoy them saying that, when the way who can tell where the money came from and who has the money, because it's all confusing because we all just kind of mix it up in a big old bucket, but couldn't figure out what went to what. Trust me, when you're dealing with that level of money, you know where the damn money went. That is a lie. That is a lie. Because if you're honestly going to tell me that you had like a big old bucket of money and you don't know where that money went and the money was depreciated to the point where people had to stroke out checks in order to pay for land, you had no idea where the money went, then that's absolutely 100% demonstrating to me that you will be broke in 3 years. If this show ends tomorrow, you will be broke. I don't even think it'll be 3 years. You'll be broke quick, fast, in a damn hurry because you are terrible with money. This is where it gets weird that the lies just don't compute and they're not congruent with anything that makes sense. Because if you're going to lie about one thing, you don't realize that you're lying to cover up for one thing, but you're making yourself look horrible in another instance. For instance, we don't know where the money went because the money was all together and we was working together as a team and it all went to the LLC and everybody was taking out the LLC and I had no idea where the money went. So you were spending money out of this large bank account. You don't know how to go back and look at bank statements to figure out who was taking out what and what they were spending that money on. The fact that they were removing large sums of money and spending it on things and you had no idea where that money went, then you're terrible with money. You are a poor steward of your financial funds and the family funds. You shouldn't be anywhere near money. If that's Robin and Cody's argument or excuse that we sold 4 houses in Las Vegas and we don't know where the money went, then you guys are terrible with money and you will be broke in a year. If this show ends, you stop getting checks. That tells me that you're living check to check because that's how people who live check to check live. They don't know how much money they have in the bank. They keep sliding a debit card in and out of those credit card machines, and they don't know to stop spending money until they see the magic word, 2 words, card declined. Then they say, "Ooh, don't have no money," and then all of a sudden they get curious and want to go check bank accounts. That tells me that you live in check to check because you're waiting for that next infusion of money so that you can go back to spending however you are spending. And that tells me that you're going to be broke. And you're dealing with too much money and too much debt for you to be okay if you're living check to check. Because if you start missing payments, you're not just, oh, I missed some payments. Y'all gonna have to come get your stuff. No, the kind of stuff that they have, the kind of money that they're spending, that money will get that the interest alone will give you a nosebleed. Okay, you'll be able to get on one of them Jeff Bezos rockets, go up into space, of them Elon Musk rockets, go up. No, it's just Jeff Bezos. You could get on one of them Amazon rockets, go up into space, and be able to look face to face with that damn dead. It'd be so high. Trust me when I'm talking. When I'm telling you, like the lie that they're telling doesn't make any sense. It would be better for them, and it would make more financial sense if they just said, "Look, I ripped them off. Yeah, we used it. It was selfish as hell, but I made sure I took care of mine. I got mine. They better get theirs. Oh well, too bad, so sad, sucker. That's how the cookie crumbles. That would be better than I don't know where the money went. Just saying. Because in one case, you're maniacal, or the other case you're a maniacal liar, or the other case you're incompetent as hell. Just saying. Just saying. But that's what I had, guys. I appreciate you hanging out. I know we rocking almost 3 hours on a on a live, but I guess that's how we do. But before I go, let me give a huge shout out to Lizzie B. Welcome on a big return. Thank you so much for swooping in. Mega Mod in the house, as well as Brittany, not Brittany. I didn't see Carmel Cuties in tonight, but that's okay. Give her a shout out anyway. But big shout out to Brittany, not Brittany, holding it down in the chat for a player. Appreciate you. I also appreciate everybody who wrote in or called in for the show. You guys made the show tonight. We got Tanya Carter, Sharon, Sassy Experience. We have Mary Marmalejo. Love saying that last name. Sunny Buddy in the house. Sophie from Belgium. What's going on, Belgium? I love those Brussels waffles. Misty, a.k.a. Aunt Mitty. Aaron in the house. We had Jashanti calling in. Awesome. We had Anonymous, Darylyn, and I'm gonna blow this name. Macias. Yeah, Macias. Woo, there it is. She also called in. Thank you guys so much for calling in and leaving a message. I get excited about stupid shit, I know. But yeah, I appreciate you guys calling in. I appreciate you guys leaving a message. Big shout out to everybody who kept it cool in the chat, as well as everybody who wants to participate in the show. If you guys want to call in, we're going to be doing the call-in show. It's my understanding this week, guys, I gotta tell you, it's going to be, from what I understand, I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't verified it myself, but from what I understand, this week they're actually going to be addressing the Big G's and that whole situation on the show, which is kind of cathartic. I'm not sure this is going to be a good one because I'm a little skeptical with TLC and how they handle stuff. Sometimes they're a little rough shot. So I'm hoping they do a good job. Hopefully it does honor to Big G's. I hope that they're gentle with Janelle, Christine, Mary, even Cody and Robin as far as the loss. Bringing the kids on to talk about their brother. I hope they're very sensitive about that and they take care with it and they do a good job. I'm like, this is the one, I won't say the one time, but this is like a time I'm really, really, really hoping that TLC pulls out all the stops and they do a good job. So if you guys, I'm going to give that trigger warning that we will be, there's a possibility that might be what the subject matter of this week's live is. So I just want to be open and transparent as far as that's concerned. So, but after the show, you guys are more than welcome to call in. I'm sure the show very well may turn into a memorial of sorts. And guys, and somebody left a great message or a great suggestion. I wanted to credit them during the live. Maybe I'll just do it during the next live on Sunday. But if you could, I'll try to figure out how we can maybe put some sunshines or not sunshines, some daybreak sunrises and sunsets up so we can because apparently that was some of the things that Garrison enjoyed taking pictures of. So because he did photography and that's some of the things he took pictures of. So we'll put some things up together for that. All right. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you want to call in this Sunday, you're more than welcome. It's an open and free space. If you guys have anything that you disagree with me on, feel free to disagree with me. Leave a message at speakpipe.com/mytakeonreality. You can call in, tell me that I do a good job. You can call in, tell me I do a terrible job, or what you like or dislike, or what you agree with or disagree with as far as my commentary or anything that I put out as far as my videos are concerned. No worries. I'm not that guy. But I want to thank everybody for participating. Thank everybody for being chill in the chat. I know it can be a little tough at times, get a little tense. People have their opinions, and that's cool. But again, we can always disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. We can have our positions, but we don't have to attack folks who disagree with us. All right. So with all that being said, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate you. That's my take. I'm James. This has been my take on reality. Oh, before I go, let me give everybody a big something before we leave. I almost dropped the ball, y'all. Yo, something though. My mega mods, everybody in chat, everybody who called in. This is for you. All right, guys, that's my take. I'm James. And this time I'm serious. That's my take. And this has been my take on reality. Thanks so much. Have a great night. And I'll see you guys on Sunday. Hopefully, if not, maybe I'll catch you next Thursday or in one of my videos. All right. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Leave a comment if you want, if you're part of the replay crew. All right. Talk to you later. Have a good night. I'm out.
'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Yeah.